Welcome back to the Top 6 show. Smash the like button. Please make sure you are subscribing, and you can join our notification and transfer group chat right now by scanning that QR code that's right next to Sard's head. Because of the way you have your camera, Sard, the size of your head compared to Rom's is a madness, bruv. You look like, them old-fashioned bikes, those with a big front wheel and a little back one. It's mad. What are those things? Penny farthing.
Don't do this.
Man looks like a
don't
penny
do this
farthing.
to me, man. Listen, I'm already self-conscious about my head, man. I'm like, hey, listen, yeah. My friend, yeah, he always does that.
Whoa. What do you mean you're self-conscious about your head?
No, because my friend, yeah, since I've known him my whole life, yeah, he's the only one that does this. He always says I've got a big head, bro, big head. So,
mate, so maybe it's not the camera angle. Maybe your head is just huge.
No, it's actually not. If I went back, it would get smaller. Does it get smaller? Or is it still big? You see, normal, bro. It's normal. Do you know what I mean? But
I don't know.
Yeah,
but welcome, Sard. Welcome, Roms, of course. We've got man like George in the house, and Alvida saying Henry or hello, as they say hello, kind of strange in Germany. It's hello, but it's kind of like hello.
Hello.
There's an I, not an E, I think. Yeah, hello. He was hacked by Germans today on his account. They nearly shut down his Arsenal YouTube account. So he was nearly in tears backstage. And welcome to the Terrace, making your debut. Chelsea fan Dan is here with us. How are you, mate?
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Appreciate you having me on. Shout out to everyone on the panel. I know most of you guys. And all right to everyone in the comments.
Yes. And there's loads to talk about. We will be touching on Chelsea versus Man United later in the show. Big game with Arsenal travelling to the Toon Army in Newcastle, a little bit of a review of last night as well. But I did want to start with the breaking news today that the agreement is now in place between Man United and Amorim. The clubs have pretty much finalised everything. He will not come in until after the international break now. So first game's actually going to be on the 24th of November, but it's basically just over a week's time until he arrives because of the international break. Roms, I know he was linked to your club heavily, but thoughts and feelings on Amorim becoming the new Manchester United manager. 2.5-year deal this will be, with an option to extend it.
I don't like this one bit. I do not like this one bit. Before we had Slot, it was him or Flick that were my two options. I think he's a very good manager. I know some people say, oh, what's the difference between him and Ten Hag? Well, I think if you stop a 19-year dominance of Benfica and Porto playing pass the parcel with the Premier League, I think their league's called, it takes some doing. And I always say a good hallmark of a manager is improving players. You already have Inacio and Diamonde there. He's had Paulinho, he's had Nuno Mendes, he's had Gyökeres from Coventry, Marcus Edwards, he's improved. Trincao, I think there's even some I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But Mateus Nunes, so he's actually produced a lot. Pedro Porro, that you can just keep listing names, and they all excelled under him. And I know rivals are going to do what rivals are going to do. There's no guarantees, and you still have to be slightly patient. But I just think the difference with Ten Hag, he came in under the Glazers, and say what you want about Ineos. I think Berardo and Wilcox, especially, they've got a background of being footballing men or identity, the way they want to play, and I think it coincides with what Amorim wants to do. I think this is a good appointment for United. We do have to still wait and see, but I didn't like this. I didn't like this at all. And I think he will do well for you. And I think one thing I'll say, if I was a United fan, not to put too much pressure on him. I know you are a big club, but I think this season should just be objective Europa League. I don't think league positions matter too much. I know some people might say, what if you finish his 10th but win Europa League? I mean, that's an avenue into the Champions League at the end of the day. And if you're aiming for top 4, that's what you're ensuring anyway. So I just believe that he should focus on the top 4 and just implement his identity. I think main thing United fans want to see is a style of play now. That is the main thing. And because it's all good having good results, but if the style of play don't match it, you won't be as convinced. I think United fans will rather a better style of play. Let's say you had 4 games, right? And you only got 8 points out of 12, but every game was a good performance. You'll probably prefer that than 4 wins, but you're just getting over the line and it's a bit janky. So, yeah, I think this is a good appointment for United. I didn't like it one bit. And poor Tom Little as well. He was doing videos and TikToks on Amorim as well. We were all doing our due diligence. And that was, I can speak for most of our fan base, We wanted him. So the fact he's gone to our arch rival, I didn't like this at all.
Well,
I
what are
can't
you
lie.
saying, Dan? Sorry, go on. Go on, Sard. I'll go Dan afterwards. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say I can't lie. I'm pissed off, man. I'm pissed off because I actually rate him a lot as a manager, man. I think he's a very good technician. I think he's very good at improving players, as Rumza said, man. And I think this is, if you want to go down the project route that I think they said they want to go down, and they want to build a project, they want to build a play style, they want to build a culture around the club and all of that. I think he's the perfect guy to do it with. Hence why I'm pissed off, because obviously I don't want Manchester United to do anything. I wish they can get relegated, but yeah, listen, I think it puts them in a very good position, a very strong position for now. Get him in. Whatever he does this season, it doesn't really matter what he does this season, as long as he starts to set out his style of play from the very beginning, and gets the players to try and work in his system, and then he can try and take out the players that don't work and the players that do work. I saw a lot of people speaking, and I actually did. That's possibly something that we can discuss later, whether Bruno Fernandez fits in his system, because apparently he plays. I haven't done too much on the technical side of how he plays. I heard that he plays 3 at the back, but apparently that he does a DM and more of a midfielder, but there's no space for a 10 in his system. Apparently, I think Rums, if you've done your
well, if he plays the 4-3-3, he plays with 2 attacking midfield players. So again, I don't necessarily think that doesn't suit a Bruno Fernandez. I mean, when he plays as a 10, he predominantly drifts out to that right-hand side anyway. If you look at his heat maps over the last 5 years, I think there's a lot of conversation about who will and who won't survive. I think the genuine answer right now is no one has it. We can all guess. We can all have a guess. And some of us will guess right and some of us will guess wrong. I think there'll be a few casualties we don't expect. So again, I'm giving hypotheticals here as opposed to actual predictions. Would I be shocked if Lisandro Martinez doesn't make it? No. Would I be shocked if Rashford turns it round and looks brilliant? No. I think anything is possible. The fact that you've got Scott McTominay over there in Serie A looking like an absolute don, bossing it, change of system, a new manager, a new ethos, things can just change round. And yeah, I'm excited about the prospect of what he brings. But Roms, what you said, I think so right. United fans have got to keep their feet firmly on the ground. I think it's so the comment on here made me laugh. Terry has briefed these brothers. Yeah, I'm making them all say what I want them to say. That's how it works. Another rumor made up about me on the internet. Terry makes everybody says, yeah, that's it. Absolutely. Yeah. Like Roms hasn't been saying this on other channels that have nothing to do with the Football Terrace prior to this. So there we go, Shawnee. Clever. But yeah, we do need to keep our feet on the ground. And one of the weirdest criticisms I've seen about this appointment is when people sort of say, but it isn't going to get better overnight, Terry. But I think the style of football can get better, but we know to compete with City for the league title. We know to leapfrog Liverpool, leapfrog Arsenal. It's going to take a couple of years in the transfer window. I don't think any genuine Man United fan, and I'm talking about people that show their face on camera or use their real name on Twitter, or, at least show their real face on Twitter. No one in that space is saying we're back after just appointing a new manager. So I think it's about keeping feet on the ground, but I would expect there to be really vast improvements in how we play football. The players, again, last night, they demonstrated they're capable of scoring goals and playing well and moving the ball quickly. They just need to have that unearthed in the system. And then we need a manager or a head coach, whatever you want to refer to him as, who can help us maintain that. It's no good coming in fits and starts. Dan, how do you see this as an appointment for Man United? Is it one that you think will work for them, or is at 39 years of age, is this too big a step too early in his career?
I don't know about too big a step. I think the success that he's had out in Portugal is good enough for him to make the jump. We've seen managers make the jump to other Premier League teams, not of similar stature, because I don't think anyone is quite on that sort of level as Manchester United. But I think in terms of his age and where he's at in his career, I think it's okay. I mean, considering he was linked with West Ham, he's probably grateful that they decided not to take him in the summer. Look, Amorim's a manager who is all about risk. His football is completely risk orientated. He will try to overload teams going forward, and I think there's similarities to where Ange Postecoglou sees his sort of football philosophy. And I just wonder whether or not Manchester United defensively could be susceptible Lisbon don't let in a lot of goals, but they do play with an incredibly high line. And I wonder how that sort of looks in the Premier League. And that's one thing I think you can see with Amorim's football. But there's no doubt about it for me in terms of what he's done. I think he's an exciting appointment. My only issue with Manchester United is, are they just copying what's happening over the road with their neighbours? Are they obsessed with Manchester City? Obviously, I'm not sure what the plan is with Manchester United. And I think it was obvious that Viana going to City meant Amorim was going to link up. And the fact that they've gone in for him just creates a bit of a question for me. Are they just trying to beat Manchester City to that appointment?
It's a good question, but let me throw this at you. We have taken Omar Barada, who was very senior at City. Could that play a part in this? Because again, if you're hiring someone from Man City, part of the reason you're doing that is to take some of that quality in terms of how City are run. But that's also going to mean that some of your plans are going to, it's like with you guys buying young players. I mean, it's not new. I mean, you're doing it on a supercharged level, but Man United have been buying young 15, 16, 17-year-olds for 80, 90 years. This is kind of, do you know what I'm saying? But it's not, I wouldn't say you're copying Man United. I think you're just having a new approach.
Yes and no. I don't know if Amorim would have been. I think with the appointment of that sporting director at Manchester City, I think that sort of lined up Amorim. I'm not sure whether Amorim would have been the favourite to go to Manchester City to replace Pep unless that sporting director had been put in place there. I think Barada probably on the inside sort of acknowledges Amorim and sort of sees what Sporting were doing because of that City background. They would have had another sporting director lined up to replace Tixi a while ago, and Amorim's name was probably on the cards, right? So maybe he came with the information, but I'm just sort of waiting to see how Manchester United develop and what sort of direction they look to go in. My biggest concern is a lot of signings were made solely for Ten Hag. It's obvious the Dutch recruitment on history of players that have played in Eredivisie or have a link to Ten Hag somewhere along the line. I would think a lot of them are at risk of being probably moved on under Amorim, to be honest with you. And I expect to see an influx of Portuguese players.
That's what I was gonna come to, Dan, because I agree. I think it's a very good appointment for him as a manager, and just how he is manager tactically. I think he's another level to Ten Hag. Like you say, experience-wise, he has that experience. He's already won trophies at Sporting, and I feel like he's played in Europe. He's gonna bring that level to Manchester United, regardless. But I look at the players that you guys currently have in the crop of team, and I don't know if he can have as big as an impact as Man United fans may want with this team, because a lot of people, I know this conversation was being had in the group chat earlier, but it was the comparison between Chelsea and Man United. But taking away Chelsea, I just don't think Man United's players are that good. I think there's some players that he can improve, and systematically he'll be able to put a better system in place than Ten Hag did. But I still look at the team and I go, 2.5 years isn't that long to turn around, and like you say, to be able to become a different team. There is a load of Ten Hag players that he's probably going to have to get rid of. I remember when they first originally come in, Terry, we was having that argument. I was telling you, Ten Hag's talent ID is just not there. It's not it. And obviously it's being found out now, but I think Amorim's going to come in and look at a lot of these players and say, I don't like him. They don't suit his system, but he's going to be forced to work with them. I think the willingness needs to be seen from or shown from Man United's side when you go into this January window, that they're looking to get rid of players and also bring players in as quick as possible so he can have that impact. Because ultimately, you can't blame the manager for not having a quick impact when he doesn't have his players. And Amorim, for the position that he's going to be in for, let's just say, the next 18 months or so, it's going to be a difficult one. And unless Man United back him heavy in the markets, he's going to be working with a team that's not his and getting the results out of it. I don't think it's going to be very easy.
George, that you hit the nail on the head. That's why I said United fans have to be patient, because the players he has right now, I don't think all of them can play the way he wants to. I don't think they're capable. There's some that can, like your technicians, but he likes the techie type of borders, and I just feel that's why United fans will have to be patient. But something I want to dispel is not winning the league with 3 at the back, because we've seen it under Conte. I know Conte came into a team and they had a core, but correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, it was Zappacosta and Alonso, I think, as your win. Moses, I think it was Moses and Alonso as your win backs. This season he won it. So you can't. The thing is with football, you can win the league with any formation as long as the manager has the players at his disposal to do it. So everyone's saying he can't win it 3 at the back. Right now he can't, but in 2-3 years' time, he used to say he can't.
Not even with that. Roms, yeah. Amorim has shown that he doesn't actually need to go free at the back. You've seen him throughout the seasons at Sporting. He's played free, he's played four at the back quite frequently. And he's one of those managers that even in game, they tend to change the formation quite a bit. The players might be out of possession, they could be in a free, but when they're in possession, they switch back into a four and things like that. So he shows a lot of tactical adaptability. So I think with regards to the 3 and the 4, that's not going to be a problem. I reckon he's going to evaluate the team and then go from there. I think us as fans, Man United need a back 3, man. Their defense is an absolute shambles. It's one of the worst defenses in the league. They need a back 3 to be able to shore up at the back, but it's whether they have the attacking players.
Can I throw a question out there? I think we're all going to put Anthony on the list, but Anthony would have been leaving on if Ten Hag was staying. I think that's kind of obvious. Of the sort of Dutch connection stroke Ajax players, which ones won't work in your opinions under Amorim? So we kind of go through them. De Ligt?
Yeah, he works.
Yeah, I think
he can be, he could work.
Mazwari?
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
versatile, can play both sides.
Lissandro Martinez?
I don't think so.
Left centre back, yes.
Yeah, I think he's got a possibility.
I think he requires a lot more height.
Sorry, say that again, Dan?
I just think it'll be down to his fitness or whether or not he has a career at Manchester United.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, the 2 injuries he had last year was a broken metatarsal, which is a bone, and then somebody fell on his knee and broke one of his ligaments. I wouldn't necessarily say, and that's both those injuries are quite long term, and then it takes time to get your fitness up. But his first season, he didn't really have problems. He's been pretty available this season. But yeah, why would you say no to Lissandro, George? Why isn't Lissandro good enough to play centre back in that system?
No, I think that he's, for me, last year, obviously he was in and out of injury. And when he's come back this year, I just don't think he's been the player that he was when he first came. The first season, he was really solid at the back. He's shown that he can, lead a back line at times. And with Varane there, he looks pretty comfortable. But to be honest, maybe it's the centre-back partnerships we've seen him under of recently, but he's just not looked like a great defender to me. That's all it is. It isn't necessarily on Amorim. I think he just won't like it.
You've obviously got Christian Eriksen that was a free transfer who we know is going at the end of this season. Outside of that, nobody else is. But I mentioned Anthony. Yeah, Anthony was gone. What I'm saying is Anthony wouldn't have survived under Ten Hag, so he's already out of there. Onana? Will Onana last? But Onana wasn't an Ajax player.
He was.
Sorry, Malacia wasn't an Ajax player. Onana was. Malacia from elsewhere. He was from elsewhere.
Malacia, he'll be moved on.
He's injury wise, he'll go. Like I'm not even concerned about that. Onana, I get what people say. We've got to improve our squad, but this summer, Man United were not buying players strictly for Erik ten Hag. It was well documented before we started buying players and afterwards that the way it's done now is the manager can select a position, the club will give a list of players that meet the threshold, and then the manager can pick from that list. Nothing is now going to change. And in fact, when I think about most of our signings this summer, especially when you look at the signings of Lenny Yoro and Ugarte. Ugarte 100% is an Amorim player. He literally was under him before. And he's talented and he's young, so there's some rawness to him. But Lenny Yoro is going to be able to play in this system if you need ball playing centre back. So I kind of look, you've all said De Ligt, Xerxes. You've also Xerxes. There's question marks over him 100%. There's no doubt. But 4 of our signings this summer all fit into this new manager system, and I'm only judging those signings because the people that have hired Amorim are the guys who signed those players. I can't judge Ineos and the club on signings made under Woodward and those men before him because they weren't here. So what we're saying is that potentially Xerxes is the only one who won't fit the new manager, but the other 80% will.
I don't know what other people are saying, but when I spoke about the players not fitting the new manager, I meant the squad in particular, not just the Erik ten Hag signing. So I look at the likes of Rashford. I think Rashford doesn't fit the way that he's going to need him to play. And to be honest, I think Rashford, as I said, we've discussed many times, many years past his expiry date, he should have left Manchester United. And
only if he plays as a striker.
Honestly, I think you're overthinking.
If he's forced to stay under Amorim and Amorim's forced to play him, I think it's going to be
but Garnacho doesn't fit it either.
Wait, I can't understand why you think those 2 players don't fit his system. He plays with 2 wide players operating behind a striker predominantly.
Yeah, but they're predominantly the creative. They're like 10s that play wide.
Yeah, but why can Garnacho and Rashford not do it?
Because the Garnacho's best attribute is running onto the ball, not creating.
Yeah, but Marcus Edwards isn't that type of player. He'd probably be more similar to Rashford than he would be to a number 10 in
No,
like.
but
He's
think-
more of a
Nah, he's not
wide
similar to
one on
Rashford.
one.
I think what Henry's saying, the wide men that are 10s, you have to have high IQ. I don't think you associate Garnacho and Rashford being high IQ players. I think Kobe Mano and your Ahmad, they're the players that are really going to flourish under Amorim.
Yeah, Ahmad probably would fit it, but the thing is, if you've got like two wide 10s, I'm looking at Bruno going, I don't think he's got the pace. He requires that final third. I mean, you watch the way they break, and I don't know if you watched the Champions League game where I think it was against Lille. As soon as they get the ball, they're bombing forward with Gyökeres, etc. I don't know if Bruno's in there. I don't know if Rashford's going to be in there. Garnacho, like that. Their front line. I think the midfield will probably be a double pivot of Mainu and Ugarte.
I think a lot of people are going to be wrong about the Bruno stuff, by the way. I generally think he's going to come in and lean on Bruno.
Yeah.
And Bruno's going to
Possibly.
be his number one player. I think most probably he's going to be like, Bruno, I'm going to want you to lead the dressing room. I'm going to come in and I want, like, he's going to lean on Bruno a lot, especially with his leadership role in the team. I think Bruno is one of the players he's going to make sure he stays in his team and keeps him happy. I don't think that there's anything happening to Bruno anytime soon.
I think everyone's kind of overthinking it. When it comes to a manager coming in, he has the ingredients of a decent team. He just needs to work with it. And any great chef can make something good out of whatever ingredients you give them. So I think if he's as good as a coach as you say he is, he's going to be able to come in there with the Manchester United players that they have right now, show an instant uptick in form. And in the future, he'll figure out which players out of this group of players cannot hack it, and the players who are going to leave, and the players who can hack it will start performing.
So I'm not laughing at you. I'm like, my dog's literally howling. He's literally standing here howling, and I'm like, it's not Halloween sound effects. He's literally he wants there's trick or treaters at the door, and he wants to go, and I'm not letting him because he's too big and scary to be running at little kids. But look, I think everybody makes some really good points. I said at the start, I'm not married to. There's loads of players I want to work out for different reasons, but do you know what the likelihood is? Forget Amorim being the manager for a moment. Forget any of that. When Ineos arrived, this is why I think sometimes it's always important to go back to the beginning of conversations. Most Man United fans, there was a consensus between us that 75 to 80% of that dressing room within 3 summers under Ineos wouldn't be here. Nothing has really changed with the new manager coming in. And I think that for me is why what Rom said at the start is so important. United fans have got to remain patient, because whether we stuck with Ten Hag and it worked, unfortunately it didn't, or a new person came in the summer, the world hasn't really changed. It's still going to take 3 to 4 years to actually create a top-class squad. Why? Because it takes everybody from the position United are in, 11 years in the mud, 11 years with awful running of the club to fix a squad. We're not talking about a Man United who won the 2 years ago, and they've still got 80% of that title-winning squad. It's such, people talk about, what Slot's doing at Liverpool. He's doing a very good job. But he's gone into a team that's won trophies in the last 2 seasons, and only just over 24 months ago, nearly won a fucking quad. Taking over Man United is not the same as taking over Liverpool. If Arteta gets sacked today, sorry, Egal, but if he does, let's just say, I don't know, Inzaghi comes in. Taking over that squad is not the same as when Arteta took over from Unai Emery's squad. The expectations are different from day one because of that scenario. I think Maresca going into Chelsea, yes, he's a fledgling manager, but it's a very different squad to the one the previous summer and the summer before that, because they've invested all that money into it. So I do think the expectations change. So United fans have just got to keep their feet firmly on the ground, in my humble opinion. This here says, crazy shout, but do you think Garnacho can play wing-back because his wing-back plays very attacking?
In some games, maybe.
Maybe some games. I don't know. Do you know what I did like today? Someone going, Terry, you think you're playing 4-3-4-3. I actually think you're going to end up playing like a 5-3-1. Is that 8 players? No, that's not enough players, is it? That's 10. That's 5-4-1. And I'm like, this is what I hate about the tactico talk. A team that plays 3-4-3 plays 5-4-1 when they're defending. It's the way it goes, because your wing backs don't stay in attacking. They might do in some circumstances, but if you're being pinned back, every team that plays with 3 at the back goes to 5 at the back. It's the way it's done. I think
George hit the nail on the head earlier. Like, it's not even just Amorim. your formation as what you attack with isn't this formation you defend with. So in a game, you have about 2 or 3 anyway.
Well,
So
I don't think there is fundamentally too much difference between in a game with attacking and defending between a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3. I think there are times where they're almost identical to each other. You look at a team's heat maps when they play those formations, the heat maps look identical where players pick the balls up from. I don't think it's a great deal. I think we spend so much time over analyzing that stuff. I always wonder whether managers actually spend that amount of time. Egal, you're on mute, brother. I can't hear you, my G.
Arteta once said we played 44 different formations in a game.
Was that?
Did you hear what I said?
No, I didn't understand. I didn't hear the first bit. I just said formations in a game.
Arteta once said we played 44 different formations in a game.
I mean, it just didn't hit Egal. That's all it was, man. It didn't. No one was feeling.
Yeah, but I mean, but Arteta is maybe being a little bit over the top, but he's kind of being right, because depending upon what phase, you will go through loads of different formations in a game, and you know what tacticos are like. They'll freeze frame a screen and go, oh my god, your manager was playing with 7 men behind the ball. Well, yeah, we're defending a fucking corner. Do you know what I'm saying? You want that many men behind there. Obviously, though, guys, a big game this weekend. Amorim will not be there. Ruud van Nistelrooy will be. Dan, Chelsea come to Old Trafford. How are you feeling about this game? Manager bounce, 5 goals scored last night. Talk to us, mate. Talk to us.
Yeah, it's a nightmare, mate. Man United couldn't wait one more week, could they, just to give us a chance? But look, we ain't won at Old Trafford in a long time, and the fact that you've now just scored 5 goals against Leicester just doesn't fill me with any confidence, because that's a team that's got habits of our coach. You know, that they spoke literally last week, Harry Winks, on at the weekend about how they use things that they learnt last season under Maresca, this season to sort of change up their fortunes. So look, I'm not comparing Chelsea to Leicester in any means in terms of the quality of playing squad, but I'm concerned about that new manager bounce and where Chelsea are at, because I don't think we were unbelievable against Newcastle. I think there are defensive issues, and any team capable of scoring that many goals will pose threats against some of our defenders and current liabilities at the moment. But going forward, I believe on our day we can hurt any team in the league.
How much blame do you put on Maresca for last night? Because I think you made 1 sub until what, the 87th minute, 85th minute?
Yeah, a little bit, Henry. But at the end of the day, Maresca can't really control if the players turn up or not. You know, if players are shit on the pitch, there's nothing you can do as a manager apart from drag them. And I think that's probably where it sort of comes into it, that they probably needed to be removed, to be honest, at a certain point. And I think there's slight issues that probably could be addressed on the training field. But I think we've got to remember that every time Maresca's made these 11 changes, whether or not that's the right thing to do, these players
11 changes.
Yeah, but Henry, these players, hang on, wait, yeah, but Henry, okay, maybe Maresca should be aware of that, but he doesn't have any evidence to suggest these players aren't good enough, because every time he's brought them in, they've scored 4 goals and found it easy. Okay, they've played yeah, okay, it's relevant who they've played, but for Maresca, they've earned his trust, right? So he's going to back playing those guys. He probably learned a few things last night that actually these players probably aren't at the standard he might have believed them to be at. But if they're scoring 4 goals in every game they play, it would suggest they're at a level above the opposition they've been playing, so they could compete at a higher level. I think he probably feels that he was let down last night by a few players and sort of thought, well, do you know what? They're not going to play at the weekend. And maybe he didn't care about the Carabao Cup enough to risk injuries.
Well, on that, does Enzo Fernandez, who has been called out by Maresca today, you know, talking about the team played well, we lost the game in 10 minutes, but we lost control. His job is literally to be a controlling midfield player. Will Enzo Fernandez start at Old Trafford? And secondary question to that, is it the beginning of the end for him now as a Chelsea player?
The beginning of the end is a difficult one. I genuinely don't think his performances have been good enough, especially for the price tag that's paid. But because of the price tag that's been paid, I don't see Chelsea's exit plan with him, to be honest with you. I don't see a team that are going to cough up the money to potentially pay that contract out. It's a 8-year contract. We're talking about ridiculous money here for a player that probably doesn't look much better than James Ward-Prowse on a good day. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's actually drastically bad. I think CB put out a list of 50 players that are better than Enzo Fernandez, and I didn't disagree with one.
I didn't think it was wrong.
I probably could have added 20. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous how bad this signing has been for Chelsea. But I think we also have to be careful because today, obviously, he's announced that he's going through a breakup, and I don't know how that's affecting him. But obviously,
Do you think that's just perfect timing?
Yeah, I think it's perfect timing. To be honest with you, I think I'm not.
You
sure.
announced those things months after they happen. Let's be honest now.
I don't know. I think it's currently happening right now, and I don't know how much of an effect it's having on him. And I think we have to remember this is a 23-year-old kid, and I don't know how many people been for a breakup at 23, but it's probably one of his first ones. He's got 2 kids with the person. It's probably a difficult time for him personally, and he probably is as frustrated as anyone that he isn't performing well on the pitch. But ultimately, to be a top professional, you've got to put that aside.
I do get that, but he's been flopping since before. That's what I would say. And maybe it's right for Chelsea fans to tread a little carefully with him because he's going through something big in his personal life. But you can still have a professional conversation about him in terms of his professionalism and just say, you're getting towards 2 years with him at your club. He's the most expensive signing in your history. And I know we had Don on the show last night. Big up, Don. Hope you're well, mate. Who basically just said, the first response to the Enzo performance was, why are we only talking about him? We obviously didn't. We spoke about other players that weren't good last night. His second response was, I just think we've got to praise Newcastle. Their midfield was so amazing and it pressed us out the game. And
so you didn't want to criticize this.
Well, we have to be careful there because Chelsea's midfield with Lavia and Caicedo were able to bypass that midfield at the weekend. So we have to be careful what we're doing here. And Don is Lavia's biggest fan, and he is well aware that Lavia is probably at a level above Enzo Fernandez when it comes to being impressive.
Don is every Chelsea's favourite, biggest fan when it suits him.
Right. So it's difficult for me to see where we go with Enzo. I think last season was incredibly difficult for him because he actually played okay the season before under Graham Potter. Lampard came in. We all know that Lampard's midfield, when it comes to him and his managerial side of things, is atrocious. He played basically a donut, isolated him. It was very, very difficult for any midfielder to have any control of the game under Lampard. Pochettino, when he came in, ultimately misprofiled Enzo Fernandez, played him extremely high up, played him in a position that was sort of as an advanced 10, and I just don't think that works. But the best we've seen of him is when he's played in a 6 role for Argentina. He's won a World Cup in that position. He's obviously got a move playing in that position. I don't think we've seen it enough yet, but you can't deny that yesterday's performance just wasn't good enough, to be honest with you.
You know what, Dan? Yeah. The panel might laugh. People in the chat will cook me. I'm going to go against the grain. I actually rate Enzo Fernandez. However, sometimes you just have to accept he's not catered for this league. And I know you were saying you don't know the exit plan for Chelsea. This is where you're going to have to think of something because, like you said, he's on a death row contract. And the money you brought him in from, it's like a conundrum because I think Poch said as a joke, they say with every joke, there's a bit of truth. I think Poch said, well, I can't drop him because upstairs will kill me. I think he was actually being honest because we all know Lavia Caicedo is your best pivot. But I just feel that, look, I think he will cook in a La Liga or a Serie A. But I just think for Chelsea, not even for Chelsea.
You can just see him in a Simeone Atletico Madrid side.
Exactly.
Looking unreal, right?
I just think for the Prem.
He's even pulled his socks down like DePaul now.
Exactly. He's hated for that league. I just think we're football fans. We jump on the player if they've not worked in one particular team. Oh, they're rubbish. I'm going to use Havertz for example. Chelsea fans, he's rubbish. He's gone to Arsenal, look like a different player. Sometimes it might just not be the team's right for you. Sometimes it might be the league. I think he'll go to another league and do well. I don't think there's a bad footballer there. He's just not suited for the Prem.
The thing with Enzo is, for me, is he's been under a few managers now. All these managers have struggled. Not saying that he hasn't had good performances, good players, or any player is going to have good performances across the season. That's a given. But he's not thrived under any manager.
But let's be real, George, right? Under Graham Potter,
I know that he hasn't had a lot of time with these managers.
Well, even though he had a long time... George, you got to be careful with what you're doing here because under Graham Potter, he was good.
Well, you don't even know what I'm doing, though, Dan.
Yeah, I do. You're saying you are suggesting that he hasn't performed to the level, and a number of managers have struggled with him.
That's what I started with. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's all I've heard. So that's what I'm saying is that you've got to be careful with that suggestion because it's not true. He's won a World Cup under the Argentinian manager. He's done well at Benfica. He's done well at River Plate.
No, but that was all
okay.
prior.
But Henry, then you might actually be onto something with Lo Celso, right? Is that Lo Celso ultimately is just not suited to?
He's not suited to the
Premier
League,
like Ron suggested, right? But actually, at Betis and other teams that Lo Celso's been at, he's been very good and highly
the Lo
respected.
Celso one, it's very clear to see that it's fitness issues and stuff, because his whole time at Tottenham, he's just had fitness problems. He couldn't keep up with the pace of the Premier League. But my point that I was getting onto was, since the move to Chelsea, Enzo has had these problems. There's obviously a lot of factors going into that move that made this a big deal for him, and he's not lived up to it. My point was going to say is there is no exit plan for Chelsea, because it's pretty much impossible to get him gone, because the wages you've got him on, and like you said, it's an 8 to 9 year deal. Any team that does pick him up has to cover that deal. Otherwise, Chelsea are going to have to agree a compensation fee to then pay out him for the rest of his contract. I don't think any team's going to agree a deal for any contract that long, nor are they going to pay anything near what you want. So what's going to end up happening is Enzo's going to have to stay around for the majority of his contract, and he's going to become a Chelsea player like you guys had under Roman, where you have your loan squads. And I think Chelsea is going back around to that type of team where you have a loan squad again. And people are laughing. I think Chelsea are going to go back.
Well, George, that just unfortunately, George, that just won't be possible, because there's regulations in place that don't allow you to have loan squads anymore. So that won't happen. What may happen is Chelsea banish players, because we saw it in the summer that players literally got removed from being able to train with the first team, and maybe that's the case. But there'll be an exit strategy for Enzo Fernandez. I'm just not sure what that looks like right now.
There will be. And by the way, I think clubs will buy him. I think there are clubs. Again, you're not going to get 110 million for him. I still think that, and I say this in this way. Yeah, I still think. I'm going to throw a club out here. I think a Juve, an AC Milan, as an example, I reckon they'd part with £50 million for him. He's not on massive wages, and I think that for me is. Look, there's always time to banter a club, but I don't believe.
Yeah, what is his wages?
I'm just having a look at it now.
It's about 150 grand,
max 150, probably about 120.
That's what I think.
I've just searched. He's on 180k.
180k. Again, that's a lot of money to all of us sitting here and everyone in the chat, right? That's not that's that mid-range for a player at a club the size of Chelsea still. It's not. I still think he might have to swallow a bit of money, and he may do that. I think if an AC Milan comes in and says there's 50 million pound this coming summer, they offer him, 150 grand a week, he should jump. I think the pace of Serie A suit him down to a ground. And that's what Chelsea have got to do when they're selling him is, okay, he hasn't worked out here, but for your league, for what you want, he still works. And you could probably get a bit for him. Listen, if I was Chelsea, I would use Scott McTominay as a different type of player, but say, look how much better he looked in your league to our league. I actually think Man United got robbed now. I think we only got 30, 40 million. We should have got about 70 million how good he looks right now.
I don't think he's value,
look at Granit Xhaka. I know he had a good last season at Arsenal. Look at the difference at him in Germany compared to what he was doing in he just looks a level up. So I don't think it's impossible to sell Enzo. Go on, Roms. Go on.
You know what then happened though? Because I was saying when you went away, I feel that there's a player there, but he will be suited to the League of Serie A. Literally what you just said. But what will then happen is rivals will be like, oh no, some Chelsea fans will be like, see, he was good. The ones that believe in Enzo, he was good, didn't it? It's like, no, just for this league. Sometimes players aren't just bad just because they're bad for one particular club. We've seen it in the history of the game. Sometimes you just need a different country, different environment, and you'll flourish. And I think Enzo will flourish elsewhere, but Chelsea needs to sit down quickly because I don't think it's going to get any better.
He's not the first Argentinian midfielder to not be at the speed of
Enzo Fernandez is not a pillar of a team. He's a piece to a puzzle.
He's
not a pillar of a team. And they bought him as a pillar of a team, spent a ridiculous amount of money on him. And with the money spent and the amount of investment that Chelsea put in on him, he had to perform at a high level or else he was always going to get this criticism. Now it's at a state where if he cannot even get back into the team, he could be considered one of the worst flops in Premier League history, let alone Chelsea.
He's top three already. He's top three.
The only thing is surely to consider, unfortunately, the amount of money that we pay for him is outrageous, but to consider someone a flop, do they not have already had to have been at a level like e.g. Fernando Torres, right, where they were at a level and they were able to flop because no one knew.
No, but there is pound for pound.
I'm going to buy into that because then I can say Anthony weren't a flop. Woo
woo! Yeah, no, one second.
He was good at Ajax.
It's just in there.
It's just an anti-climax, isn't
it?
So we all expected a little bit more, and we didn't get it.
120 million or whatever it was,
110,
record Premier League signing, bro. For him to perform worse than almost every single £100 million signing, he's performed worse than I think the likes of Pogba, Harry Maguire. You could name
Pogba was,
Pepe.
Pogba was good.
You
Don't
could
put
name-
Pogba in that category.
You could name Darwin Núñez.
How many? Listen,
I'm
my
just
guy
going to every club.
Pogba
Terry, I'm
won a
just going to every
European
club.
trophy. Take my midfielder's
1
name
second,
out your
Terry.
mouth.
Terry,
Take it out your mouth.
Understand the context. I'm talking about big money
Stop gagging
signings.
on Pogba. Stop it. Get him out your mouth now.
Okay, then Egal, all we're
I'm
doing
talking about
here
big money
is
signings. Relax.
Egal, all we're doing
what
is
I'm saying.
discussing terminology. Actually, I think we can all agree that Enzo Fernandez's performances haven't been good enough. We're
Compared
just
to
discussing
his
discussing the
peers?
definition of a flop. That's all we're
No,
doing here.
compared to his
yeah.
peers that have gone for big money, he's probably had one of the
He's
worst
a big
performances.
money flop. I would agree to
Yeah.
that. Back to the game, though. I think it's a good conversation about Enzo. Back to the game. Henry, how do you see this going from Man United's point of view? How do you see this playing out?
I think you'll win. I think Chelsea, whenever there, I'll say that in English. Whenever they've come up against a big side this season, whether that's Liverpool, whether that's City, Newcastle last night, I know they beat them at the weekend. I don't know if it's completely clicking at this moment in time. However, you've got a new manager bounce, and it doesn't matter if it's Chelsea or Liverpool. You don't want to be on the end of that. I don't think Chelsea are that confident. If it was Ten Hag, Chelsea would blow you away 3 or 4-0 like we did. But the atmosphere last night, I know you're playing Leicester, but it's all relative. I think you'll be right up for it. You know, Rube will have the boys. You know, you'll be smashing out a bit of Oasis beforehand or whatever it is you bang out there. I think you win this game. I think do you go above Chelsea if you win?
No,
or you still be 3 points behind.
They're 6 points. Hang on, how many points? No, they're 6 points ahead of us. They're 6 points ahead of us. They're on 17 points. We're on.
Yeah. So when everyone was
11.
saying Man United won't get top 4, we're going to write off top 4. I don't think it's not over. I think there's still 7 or 8 teams in the race, right? That will be in and around there.
About that race right now, man. We're in October still. Come on, like.
Yeah, exactly. People are saying they're out of the race. Like 2 or 3 wins and you're back up there.
I think we have to remember how poor Chelsea were last season under Poch, right? And it wasn't until probably about February time we made us
you went on that 10 run of games.
Exactly right. So you can get incredibly close in a short amount of time if you can put some results together. So Manchester United were never out of it if they acted quickly, and they have done. They were just obviously won by the cup win.
I think United are going to be up for it though. They've beat Leicester. They've got rid of Ten Hag. It's another home game. You know, I've looked at their fixtures after that. I think they've got Bodo Glimt, Ipswich, Southampton. Like that's a nice run of games for Rude. And what you don't want is United to win 5 or 6. And Rude's going, hang on, do you really want to bring in this Portuguese lemon squeezer? I think I'm going to put my neck out of the line.
He can't win 4. He can win 4. He can't win 5 or 6. He's only going to manage another 3 games for us.
Well, if he wins all 4 that he's managed,
Egal, is too much being made of this new manager bounce for Man United. I'm trying here to say as non-partisan as I can in this, but do you think too much is being made? And by the way, that's a disclaimer for all the United fans watching. I'm not playing it down. It's called hosting.
You didn't disclaimer up.
I know. I haven't done it for a few weeks. It was triggering all the right people. Some of my trolls in the comments are very upset about my disclaimers. But do you think too much is being made, Egal, of the new manager bounce in this scenario?
Harry, it's only been 1 game, but I do expect it to be you guys to continue to play well, because the moment you get a manager out the door that the players are not backing or are continuously making mistakes, it somewhat almost seems intentional that they wanted him out the door. The way their performances were working, you're going to see them start to perk up and start playing better. The likes of Bruno Fernandez and some of these other guys who are leaders in the team are going to all of a sudden be back to their best. And Chelsea, seeing the performance versus Leicester, I would be a little bit more concerned. Dan, you're right to be saying to yourself, I hope they kept Ten Hag for another 2 games, because now you're going to probably see Manchester United's best performance in the Premier League this season versus you guys. And it's simply because that negativity is gone. The pressure of the manager constantly being sacked is out of their way, and they can just play football. And the new manager hasn't even come in yet. You're going to have Ruud van Nistelrooy there, and he's just going to be drilling them to make sure they finish the chances that they created. And same thing that happened to you guys when Carragher came to your ground. I expect Manchester United to get a result in this game, simply because of the energy they're going to have from all the negativity being out the window. And Chelsea coming off the back of a game where they fully rotated, and Manchester
That's why I
You
think.
also have to look at the fact that Chelsea haven't won at Old Trafford in 11 years. I think, to correct me if I'm wrong, it's 11
Old
years.
Trafford's still a tough place to win.
No, but do you know what, George?
The
George,
last time they won there, I remember it. It was I went to the game. It was the day after my stag do, and I went to I drove up early hours of the morning, still off my head. Watched the game. It was the only game I think I've ever watched us lose. We'd already won the league then as well.
It was
very
Fergie's
late.
last year, innit? Yeah.
Fergie's last year. I think Mata scored. It was the only time because we'd already won the league. I was heavily hungover because of my stag do, where we lost, and I just was like, "Get me to the hotel room. I need to sleep." I remember that game. I remember the game vividly. I remember the day vividly. But yeah, that's a long time ago now because I'm now divorced.
Terry, not only do I think you guys are going to beat Manchester United, I think not only do I think you guys are going to beat Chelsea, I think Chelsea could go on a couple game losing streak off the back of this, because not only will they lose to you, not only do they play Manchester United away, then they got Arsenal at their ground. It could be a couple games in a row.
You know what? I think we're doing way too much here because that narrative, Chelsea haven't beat United at Old Trafford for 11 years. Well, Egal, you and Arsenal fans weren't like this. You've not beat us at Anfield in 12 years in the league. Like, but one day it has to end. That's not going to carry on going forever and ever. So I believe there's enough substance.
No, flip that. When we play you at your ground, are you going to be saying that? Or are you going to be saying, "Oh, we haven't beaten you. We haven't beaten us in 12 years"? Which one are you going to be saying?
I'll still be saying that because I'm going to back my team. But I'm just saying,
shameless, bro.
I'm not stupid enough to know one day it will end. I'm just saying, all good things come to an end. So I think it comes to an end this week for United. I think Chelsea do get the win. Of course, it's going to be much harder under Ruud than it is on. Of course, it's going to be much harder under Ruud than it was Ten Hag. But I feel like people are doing a bit too much with Chelsea. How many changes did you make last night, Dan? 10? I think it was 10
11, mate.
The whole team. If Chelsea filled that team that they filled against us, Caicedo, Lavia, Palmer, Jackson, whatnot, I think they'll still have a bit too much for you. Yes, you've got a new manager bounce, but I think their 11 against your best 11, they're still a bit too much quality for me. And they've been playing together more as a team. So I just think Chelsea will nick the win this week.
But you do realize Chelsea outscore teams. They don't really defend well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So Manchester United at home, they're going to get a couple goals. And in that situation, it's going to be an open game. It's not a game where it's not a game where it's not a game where you
I'm gonna do a Lewis here, touch tax.
Chelsea's not a team. Chelsea's not a team where you can feel confident they're going to come to your ground and they're going to come out there with a clean sheet or convincingly win. I think whatever happens is going to be a shootout, and in a shootout with all the confidence they're going to have from the manager being gone, why not back Manchester United? We've seen Newcastle, who haven't scored in like 5 games, score against them last week.
One thing is for sure, and I'm doing my preview with the boys tomorrow on Straight Facts. I'm not going to give all of my opinions away. You've got to save the content. The one thing I will say, though, this is going to be a higher goal scoring game.
Yeah,
because
I'm going to say that.
Both teams leak big opportunities. I want to win, of course I do. If we lose and we don't score, that's going to really piss me off, because I think we've got to score in this game. We have to score.
There'll be minimum. This is how mad I think this game's going to be. There'll be minimum 5 goals in this game. Genuinely, I think there'll be minimum 5 goals in this. I don't know if we're going to do score prediction at the end of the segment, but it won't be like, I don't think Chelsea will win a 2-3 goal margin. I think they'll just about win, but there's going to be goals in this game.
Roms, what you say? Roms, what you saying? Over 4.5, bro. Over 4.5 on Aka, yeah? I'm on to you,
although it wasn't at Old Trafford, the last time we played was obviously when Cole Palmer got the 2 goals late in injury time. It was 4-3. So Roms isn't far off with that.
But and what was the score in the first game of the season? So for the first game,
2-1.
It was 2-1, but there was a lot of chances in that. We beat you 4-1 the previous. There's been a lot of goals in this game in the last few years.
And then we actually went through a period, Terry, if you remember, where it was a draw pretty much every game for a couple of seasons. We just kept drawing with each other. So
and very, very rarely a 0-0. And I just think, Man United, I think what Ruud's going to do for Man, this is what I think he's going to do. I'm not overstating the improvements in this so far. I heard what Mark Goldbridge said today, where he was actually frustrated that the players played better, and he doesn't believe in this whole the shackles were off. I agree that the shackles haven't been released. I just think the players were tired, the players were frustrated, they knew it wasn't working, and there's a different sense and feeling in the dressing room. We've all seen it. But I think Ruud is just going to say to them, go and play, go and attack, go and have fun. I don't think Ruud's going to be doing up too much tactical training. I don't think he's going to be doing up too much systems. It's going to be work on a basic system Guys, go out there. That's why I think Casemiro and Ugarte will start because, look, boys, you're holding that midfield. Cash, you can go into an 8 role when you need to. Just go out there and I think the message will be go out there and try and score more goals than Chelsea do, which I think for a neutral watching is going to make it a very, very interesting game. Viewers, we want to get your score predictions in right now in the live comment section or the comment section below. But I'm going to get score predictions off the boys now. I'm going to go to George first. What you saying, bro?
2-1 United.
Good. Dan?
2-1 Chelsea.
Egal.
I'm going 3-1 Manchester United.
Hey. Henry talks bollocks. What you saying?
2-1 United.
Or Henry talks kraut, we should call you now. 2-1 United. Go on, son. Sal, what you going with?
I actually believe in this whole thing, and I'm gonna go 4-3 United.
Ooh.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a mad.
You've already lumped on, haven't you? You've already.
Nah, you know what? Listen. I don't bet,
that's
but
Haram, bro.
I
That's Haram, bro.
I just. I don't bet, but I just think it's gonna be a really mad. I agree with you both. What you said, bro. Like these guys are just gonna go out there and just score goals. Listen, it's Cole Palmer's. This is Cole Palmer's game against top 6. The only one that he gets a goal, bro. So you know what I mean. He's gonna.
And he loves us. He supports us as well. He supports us. By the way, how good would Cole Palmer be in Amorim's
forget
system?
the dream. Forget the dream, man. Forget the dream. He's locked up. Cole Palmer's locked up, bro. He's got handcuffs.
You love boxing. This is going to be reminiscent of Hagler Hearns. That you're just both going to be punching each other's face off. I'm going to go 3-2 Chelsea though. I think Chelsea nick it 3-2. It'll be high scoring.
Fair dues, viewers. Give us your thoughts. Give us your feelings in the comment section below. We are going to talk in Arsenal versus Newcastle on this show as well. That is coming later. I want to talk a bit on Man City to begin with, and I want to have a conversation about Phil Foden because a lot of people, I saw some stats last night that weren't good reading, saying that he's really flopping this season. But before we get into City in more detail, George, what a result.
It's only City.
Man City body snatchers last night. Go on, son.
Nah, to be honest, it's a City, innit? It's a City who comes to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We know the business. They've lost 6 in 8 against us at home. I was pretty confident going into the game. That's what I said. We've got something for him. Pep did obviously caveat that with we don't really want to win this game, so he took all the fun out of it. But we done the business. We done what Spurs needed to do. Took the sting out of City season so far. First loss of the year. And yeah, there's not really too much to boast about. I think we had some good
there is. You got to speak on Kulu.
No, that's what I was going to say. We had some good performances in Kulusevski. Do you know, I've been singing his praises for years. So to me, Egal probably knows. I was talking when he first come in. I was talking about Saka and Kulu. What are we doing? This is my comparison. People are saying I'm shameless for it, but obviously it's only now he's really starting to pick up his form, trying to find his true self in that central role, and you're really starting to see the best of him. I know a few of his comments prior to the season. He said he's really started to hone in on his game. Focus on, picking up some of the traits that KDB has. And I think you can see it in the way that he plays. The way that he picks up the ball in the middle and drifts down the right side, it's magical, man. Like, Kulusevski is so good. So good. For me, one of the best number 10s in the league right now. Creative midfielders. There isn't much players on his level, apart from, of course, Dan's Cole Palmer. You can't really take much away from him. But Kulusevski, with regards to his all-round game, he gives us everything we need. But yeah, we was obviously playing against City side where they're missing some of their best players. So in the attack, you saw very lackluster. Phil Foden was. You talking about Ackers? He messed up my Acker actually. I just need him to get one shot on target, bruv. One shot on target. This guy was hoofing over the bar, 6 yards out, ball into Rosie. I don't know what's happening with him so far this season. Obviously, he had a slow start due to coming back late from the Euros and so on, but he's not up to scratch. He's not been up to scratch. And the game he had in the Champions League against the Fodder, that don't count because Man City do that. He's been doing that.
Whatever they were called.
Yeah, Champions League group stage. They always soak up teams and smack them up 5 or 6. That's normal.
Do you know what
see it in the Prem?
Do you know what's mad as well? Just 2 seconds, 2 seconds. I actually, we've all been, and you got to hear me out on this. This isn't a wild take. This is just how it is. So you know how Gravenberch has been getting so much praise this season? There ain't a lot in the performances between him and Kulu. Kulu has been so good for us. in that 10.
Wait, Henry, calm down.
No, honestly,
Everything
honestly.
you're
I'm
doing
waiting
so
for
well.
Roms, bro.
No, you're doing so well. Everything's going through. Kudu's had a very good season. I'm not.
Yeah, everything's going through
disregarding-
Kulu. That's why Madison's getting hooked.
But I wouldn't say. But Kudu's more. First of all, he's more advanced as it is. Gravenberch's literally collecting the ball from the back
Yeah,
four,
that's what
going past 1 and 2 players
Kulu's
from the
getting
back
ball
four.
That's literally what he's doing, and he's driving forward. with
Maybe
it.
I need to watch a bit more.
Did
But
you
I
not
think
see
that's a bit bad.
Kulu's assist yesterday from
That
inside our own
first
half?
pass
Yeah, but
is
Gravenberch's
almost-
been doing it week in, week out. Bar Arsenal, it was week in, week out. Honestly.
But like, do you know what's mad as well? I said this on Twitter yesterday. I think James Maddison in a lot of these big games, I think we're going to go with the double pivot and Kulu in front. And I think the only way Maddison comes back into this is if he's played out wide. But we rely heavily so much on pace. Like Timo Werner yesterday, that pass from Kulu is ridiculous.
Yeah,
and the first time finish, George, how many times have we been there where he's running onto it and I'm like, oh, please, for the love of God, just hit the target.
I'm
So
not
you
going to
telling
lie.
me Madison's been found
The
out?
fact he did it against City as well. But that's, you know what you were saying earlier about Chelsea haven't won at our ground for 11 years. That's actually, the more I think about it, the more that's worrying me. Look at all the chances Werner's missed this year. And sometimes it's been against Dross. He gets that chance against the best team in the world. And the football gods say...
He had about 3 of them yesterday, though.
That's what I was going to say.
I wanted to sing his
big him up
praises.
here. Come on.
I want to as well. I was trying to sing his praises, but
Bro.
there was even that time you saw when he was running through. He's clean. He's going.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
Did you man see that
And then he puts it
Richarlison?
wide, and you're just like, how do you even
Jordan
get
Henry,
that
Jordan Henry, you were shocked when it hit the back of the net. You're like, you
So
couldn't even
mad.
celebrate. You were like, has it gone
I
in?
didn't.
You guys keep talking about Spurs, but is this the year from hell for Man City? They brought in Gundogan. They thought Gundogan was going to be the guy who's going to be the Rodri backup. Now Rodri's injured. Now Gundogan's going to have to play a lot of minutes. Phil Foden is not doing nothing, as you guys already know. Kevin De Bruyne is already injured. They got Savio, who just got injured. They got the other guy.
They got 10 injuries ago.
They got the other guy who's injured. What's his name?
On Phil
Maresca
Foden,
Bob.
though, I mean, a lot of City fans are frustrated in the comment section that in our title, we talk about Phil Foden flopping. And a lot of people are suggesting that he has flopped this season. Last night, I think it was Stat Mules. And again, people that don't like stats will hate this part, but I think it's worth looking at. But I think their post, and I want to go to it here. So I actually think they've got, I mean, whether you like stats or not, that whoever designed that is phenomenal. Where's all? I don't know the basketball.
I'll send it to you right now. I've got the screenshot.
Man's got it bookmarked.
Yeah, cool,
I didn't have it bookmarked.
I've got the
That's
screenshot. I got the screenshot, bro. I've got the screenshot, bro.
This
Bro,
is
enough
Saka
of this
defender
top
loading
Messi,
from
bro.
earlier.
Gooners, man.
I know you.
Messi, bro. I've
No,
got
I
that.
know you put it in a group chat like, I told you Saka's better, and then you had the picture loaded up straight away.
Broski, I went into a City fan group chat, bro. I just decided to just drop that in there and say, what you man saying, bro? These man are talking to me. I've sent it to
I don't
you.
just
Yeah,
think
yeah,
I've got it here. So last
Like,
night, no goals, no assists, no shots on target, no chances created, no take-ons completed, no successful crosses, hooked in the 58th minute is what Stat Mules FC put out there. He's been on the bench a lot this season. What is it wrong to call that a flop? I mean, City fans think it is, but what is going wrong with him this season? They've got a lot of players out injured. Yes, they're top of the league. They're the best team in the world. And Phil Foden's amazing. I've always put Foden ahead of Palmer, ahead of Saka, based on consistency, what he's done in title races, the trophies that he has won, and I stand by that. Based on his quality, how poor a season is Phil Foden having?
It's disastrous.
Can I just... Yeah, I was just going to say, though, Terry, this isn't new from Foden. Although, like, I'm in agreement with you. I rate Foden so highly above all the other players and so on, how he has been. But he's had these periods at City before. Let's not act like, I feel like as fans, we haven't noticed it as much because they have so many good attacking players. When he's not playing, when he's on the bench, people aren't making such a big deal about it seasons before. But because off the back of last year, everyone's now looking at Foden to create that impact and be the focal point. Whereas when he wasn't 2 seasons ago, when he got dropped out of the team with Grealish for partying too much, he was out of the team for about a month. When he'd come back from injury at that point, again, he was out of the team for a while. He's had periods out of the team where City don't need him. And I think, to be honest, we're seeing the rise in Matheus Nunes and you're seeing the fall in Foden. City aren't going to feel the impact as much. So as much as it's big for Foden that he's not performing to the level, I don't think it's new for City, and I don't think it'll be a problem for them, as Egal was sort of alluding
I
to.
have to disagree with that. I think a lot of Foden's career in Manchester City, he's had KDB playing in the position he excels at the most. Last season was the first season, due to KDB being injured, you saw him play centrally, and he had one of the best seasons of his life. I can't just call, for me, I'll say it's bad form. Then some people say, well, bad form can't be 2, 3, 4 months. I genuinely still think it's bad form because he can't just win his team a league title on the last day only in May, and all of a sudden he's just this bad player. I think people are going overboard. I agree he's having a bad season. He's been poor, and I think there was a narrative that was like, first he wasn't starting games. Then now he started games the last few months. He's still dropping bad performances in that central position. But I won't just go overboard and say he's now this rubbish player. I think we'll see Phil Foden back.
Yeah.
But he's going through something.
Rom, you're so spot on. Like Messi and Ronaldo have broken things in football. As great as they were, they're broken things. People look at it as, well, you can only be considered a very good player or a world-class player if you're as consistent as them. What they did in terms of consistency is ungodly, unworldly, aliens. That's why people call them aliens. If everybody's being objective, not emotional, and the older you are, the more you can go back and think about this. The amount of great players that have had stinkers of seasons. Eden Hazard has had a stinker or two of a season. Ryan Giggs, who played from the age of 17 till he was 40 for Man United, in the early 2000s, had this period where he got booed at Old Trafford. His performances were so bad. A lot of that had to do with hamstrings. He started yoga. He improved again. He nearly left, and I think it was Juve or Inter that he joined at that point. These things happen. Most footballers do not go through their careers where they don't have seasons like Phil Foden is having here. So for me, I feel as though he has flopped so far this season, but that doesn't define his career. And I think that we live in this era as football fans, especially when people have agendas, where if you've for years said, I don't think he's that good, you've now waited 5-6 years and now you get to shine and go, see, I told you so. I think he's playing atrociously, disastrously right now. I agree with all those words, but I don't think that defines him. I think he's going to come out the other end of this. It's very normal to go through what it is that he is currently going through. I just find the over-analyzing of it. And I know that people want their best player valued above him, praised above him, put above him. So we do this thing where I'm going to try and shit on people. But although people do think I only do this for Arsenal players, I'm going to stand up for another Man City player. I do it for a lot of City players, actually. I just think it's ridiculous to try and tear this young man down. He has been phenomenal since he's Man City debut. He's not having a great time at the moment. But the idea that he's not going to come through this, that he's been exposed, my only response to that is fuck off.
Terry, all I ask is the same level of...
Sorry, well, what's fun? What's been said? What's been said?
Terry, all I ask is the same level of consistency. 1 second. All I ask is Phil Foden be held to the same standard. All I ask is Phil Foden to be held to the same standard as previous players of the season in the Premier League. If you're the best player,
do you know why he's not going to?
1 second. If you're voted the best player in the Premier League and you're voted PFA Player of the Season, and you come into the next season and you have a poor start to the season, you deserve the criticism and you don't deserve to be protected. This man was awarded the highest level award you can be awarded for a Premier League player or English player in the league. And if he is not playing to that standard, he should hold criticism. He should hold that level of banter. And until he gets himself back to that form, we should not be saying.
Egal, can I ask you a question? Egal, can I ask you a question?
Protecting him.
Nobody's protecting him. See, this is what I think we're
Everyone said
missing.
he's in bad form.
Let me ask you a question here, Egal. Do you he deserves the criticism for how bad he's been this season? Myself, and I think Roms was talking about, and others, is people using this season as an indicator that everything that has come before was fraudulent and this is the real Foden. For me, that's disingenuous. And the reason why I don't push these narratives, I always get, you're twerking for a rival again. No, it's not about twerking for rivals. People always misunderstand this. So clip this up and fucking share it. It's because all these stupid narratives that we push at times eventually can be used against your own players. So I don't do it. Because eventually it's going to be used against your great players, your legends, your stars, and it diminishes. A few weeks ago, I defended Wenger when people were saying that he's not really a football man. I think it was Souness. As a Man United fan, you cannot agree with that. Because if you take away the brilliance of Wenger, it damages slightly the legacy of Sir Alex, who ousted him, who beat him, who got the better of him. If we're saying that he was a scrub or an average person, an average football man, what does that say about Fergie's era? Like, people sometimes are very surface level with this shit. They're very surface level with it, and it's just like, do you know what? I'm just going to say the thing that's popular right here, right now, to get one over on a rival. I think you've got to think a bit more deeply about this and how it impacts your own club. I don't like the analysis of. I don't like. Look, it's not that I don't care that Foden's getting criticism. What I don't like is this notion that one bad season defines his entire career so far.
How about this, though, Terry? He had a bad Euros, right? He had a bad tournament, right? In the past, we've seen players like David Beckham have a bad tournament where he got sent off. And what did that do? It enticed him to have a good season the following season. Right now, he has not only followed up his poor tournament with a poor start to the season. I think he's deserving of all the criticism. I think he's deserving of all the speculation about how good he actually is, because he is in one of the best teams in the world.
No, he doesn't.
Let me finish. The criticism at him is not that he's a bad player, is that he's in a good system and it gets the best out of him. Because outside of that system, outside of the perfect system, outside of the best players in the world playing with you, a Ballon d'Or winner,
so again,
the best striker.
One sec, so I will come to you next, Ron. But Egal, no. So again, people can criticize him, yes. When you do this whole, it should be used to look at his overall career is wrong. I'll tell you as to why. Tony Adams predominantly
I'm not saying his whole career, Terry.
You know, you literally said a minute ago.
One second. I'm not saying he's a bad player. Terry, understand the scope that I'm going at. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying the height that they're pushing him to. Sorry. Am I wrong in thinking that Egal just said words to the effect of the way he's playing now should be used to challenge what came before? Did he say something before?
You did say that.
You did say that, right?
I'm saying look at him when circumstances are different. When everything is perfect,
Egal, the problem is with your logic is this, right? For instance, Tony Adams in my lifetime only played in very good Arsenal teams, in very good Arsenal systems with very good defenses, pretty much his whole career. Does that mean he's not as great a centre-back as he performed because he was in a very good unit with very good managers and a very good team at that particular time?
Did he perform for England in tournaments?
No. That era of England didn't even qualify for 2 tournaments.
Okay, fair enough. You can criticize him.
You see my point? You see my point I'm making here? When you use a bad period, when you use a bad 3 months to try and rip someone's whole career apart, that logic can then, one, I think it's wrong in general. You shouldn't do that to anyone. Secondly, it can then be used against all of your great players. So why even push it?
I can dispel that. Because
if it continues for the rest of the season, Terry, then you can.
We've had it with 2 players. We've had it with 2 players. We had it with Van Dijk. All rivals saying he was washed. I know he had an injury, come back, and now he's again for me one of the best in the world again. We had it with Sadio Mane. Ask any Liverpool fan. Sadio Mane stunk on the left for about 7 months. We put him in the false 9 position. He started scoring again, and he cooked. Now this is my rebuttal to you, Egal. Yeah. Saka's been consistent from day one. I'll give that to him. He's a quality baller. But let's say Saka now has a bad 6-7 months. I don't think this will happen, by the way, so the Arsenal fans calm down. But let's say he does have a bad 6-7 months. Is that going to undo everything he did before? Is he now this bad player?
That's based on the public eye, yes.
No,
public eye.
One second. You guys, you know how I know him, right? You know how I know him, right?
Stop a second, please stop, sir.
Stop. You know how I know him, right?
Egal, stop a second. Egal, stop a second. Forget the public eye. I don't care about that right now. We, 7 gentlemen, that's debatable with some of us, but there's the 7 men, right? We are here having a conversation. Forget what the public eye think. What do you think? If Saka between now and the end of the season is poor, does that undo everything he's done in an Arsenal shirt?
Every person will be calling him a fraud.
Forget that. Forget everyone else. I'm talking about you. Will you?
I will not be calling him a fraud because I know how good he is.
Why are you doing it to Foden? Why are you doing it to Foden?
One second. The circumstances is different. Bukayo Saka, we've seen him in many different systems. We've seen him in many different situations with poor players, with good players. We've never seen Phil Foden perform to a high standard and carry a team when his situation is poor. We've not seen that. We've seen more from Cole Palmer.
So your logic now, hang on, Egal, your logic now undoes Thierry Henry is the GOAT as the Premier League. We only saw him in the No, Egal, I'm going to mute you until I finish my point. Let me don't shout over me. I'll tell you why it did, right? We only saw Thierry Henry deliver in what was always a brilliant Arsenal team since he arrived. So your logic now undoes Henry as the GOAT because he only did it in a brilliant Arsenal team. We didn't see Henry deliver in a poor Arsenal team, a shit Arsenal team, an Arsenal team with a manager change. You see the problem with your logic? It hurts your own legends, Egal.
No. Because Phil Foden, if you were going to go to Invincible days, Phil Foden is like Robert Perez or Freddie Ljungberg. He's not the main man.
It doesn't matter who he is. It's logic, Egal. Even then, okay. Then even then, you're undoing.
He never has to strap up.
So you're undoing Perez. You're undoing Ljungberg. You're undoing the legacy of all those Arsenal players. Hang on, Egal. There ain't levels to nothing. Stop talking nonsense, Egal. Listen to this question and answer it straight. So because certain Arsenal legends in the Wenger era only played in the good Arsenal team, are you now suggesting that their legendary status should be reduced because we didn't see them play for a shit team in England?
Guess what? Phil Foden is not on the caliber of
No. Answer the question. Don't deflect. You can't do that, Egal. It's nonsense.
But you're making a false comparison, Terry. I'm talking about the fact.
I fucking ain't. I absolutely am not.
Listen to my point. One more time.
Your point is nonsense.
Phil Foden won Player of the Year, and he wasn't even the best player on his team. You can make a case.
So what? That's irrelevant. Irrelevant.
He wasn't even the best player on his team.
Irrelevant, Egal.
Also, he had a bad Euros. He's having a poor start to the season. He deserves to be criticized. And if he continues to perform this level this season without Rodri, with Kevin De Bruyne injured, with all the circumstances happening, if he continues to have a poor season and he doesn't pick up the team and start performing, we are going to question if he is a system player or if he can actually be a
system player nonsense. We ain't doing that here. No system player bullshit, bruv. System player nonsense. Thierry Henry's a system player. Thierry Henry's a system player, not the GOAT anymore. Thank you for confirming it, Egal.
He did it every single day. He did it for France. He did it for
Arsenal. No. He did it in one system. He did it in one system in England. I'm talking about Premier League. He did it for
France. What are we talking about?
Forget France. The Premier League GOAT. For the Premier League GOAT isn't defined by what they did on international duty. The problem is with your logic, Egal. I get you're tribalistic. I get you want Saka to be seen as better than Foden, but your logic absolutely damages your own fucking legends.
Guess what?
It's crazy.
It's not the public logic. Your logic is your opinion, Terry, and my logic.
No. Your logic is what I'm talking about, not mine.
Wait, what are you doing,
Egal? I'm thinking from the perspective of what people think about in today's game.
You're not Egal.
You're thinking from an old school perspective. I'm
telling you what I believe.
Egal, because if Phil Foden has a poor season till the end of the season, it's only probably yourself and a few Arsenal fans that will undo what he's done before. The normal football fan won't undo what he's done before. We still know he's a quality player.
Egal, you got to stop doing this. Football fans.
No, and he's playing well in big games and big moments.
Bro, you guys know I'm right. You guys know I'm right.
No, we don't. No one agrees with you here.
You guys know I'm right.
Sorry, guys. Everybody, quiet a bit. What you want to say, Henry? Sorry, go on.
When you said about system players, Thierry Henry went to Barcelona and was a legit system player. He wasn't a striker. He was put on the left, and if he didn't perform, he was hooked. The reason Foden doesn't get criticised nowhere near the amount Saka does when he had a bad game is because he's won 19 trophies, and he's won 4 league titles and a treble, and was the main reason City won the league last year.
One time,
I believe, when De Bruyne got
it one time,
that last year,
you just proved me right.
Hang on. When De Bruyne got injured last year, right? Foden was the guy that stepped in and he dragged them through games. Last game of the season against West Ham, they need a goal. 5 minutes in or 10 minutes in, bags a brace.
Saka is a phenomenal player. In one season, you taking that, yeah? Because
no, he also.
But we jump in four Premier Leagues, one champion. Like,
you know what?
Do you know what this reminds me of? Sorry, do you know what this reminds me of? I always remember Liverpool fans for years. By the way, Steven Gerrard, one of the greatest players that we've seen in the Premier League, absolutely. But for years, they spoke about how trophies weren't that important. And I always remember that day when Souness and Pogba were beefing, and Souness did the whole put your medals on the table, and too many Liverpool fans backed it. And I was just sitting there going, "You've just gone and lost the Scholes Gerrard debate." And that's the way I move. Like, I think, and not because I'm being snide, you've got to think about the bigger picture when it comes to these arguments. You really do. Moving on from
picture, it's about Phil Foden being
No, it's about the
performing
bigger
well.
picture. It's about the
That
bigger
is the
picture.
main. Stop
No,
doing side arguments, Terry. The main argument is about Phil Foden. No one cares about the side argument.
No, we do care about the side argument because your overarching criticism of him has deeper ramifications and a ripple effect. The criticism just on Phil Foden is he's having a bad season, not that he overall in his career has been a fraud and everything he's done up to this point could be undone because of it. That, in my personal opinion, is absolute bollocks. And I'd say the same if someone did it to Saka. I'd say the same if somebody tried doing that to Harry Kane. Not that he's won medals, but there we go. I would do the same thing if someone tried doing it to who's been good at Liverpool for a while now. I don't know.
But Terry,
Van Dijk. If Van Dijk had 2 bad years, it wouldn't undo what came before it. It's crazy.
Terry, one argument does not undo other arguments if it has no correlation.
Yeah, but Egal, at the very beginning of making your point, you said, please don't judge, or can my players be judged by the same way, right? As you were saying about Foden, and then you made your point, and now you won't agree that we're judging it with your point on other players, and you can't accept it. And you've just spent the last 10 minutes arguing that case. But now you won't accept that we'll now use the goalpost that you've moved to judge other players, and you can't see how that affects the argument.
You want to know something? Phil Foden is not judged the same as other players because his team is winning, even though he's not a major part of the previous trophies that they've collected. He is always put on a higher pedestal because of the collective trophies that he's collected.
He has been, especially the last 3 to 4 seasons, he has been an integral part.
I could name probably 4 to 5 players each season that are more integral than him.
Okay, but that hang on, but this is me as a man. This is why, again, sorry, Roms, but this is why as a Man United fan, I'm not going to sit there and listen to this nonsense, because when Man United were winning everything, we didn't have 1 or 2 integral players. We had like fucking 9 of the bastards. Neville was integral. Neville was integral. Irwin was integral. Stam was integral. Beckham was integral. Scholes was integral. Keane was integral. Cole, York, Solskjaer, Sheringham. It isn't just 1 or 2 players are integral.
Sheringham is not on their level.
Who? What? Sorry, what?
Sheringham is not on the same level as
I'm talking about integral players to a particular team.
Okay.
If you don't think that Phil, I'm not saying that there aren't players more integral than Phil Foden, but to suggest that he's not part of the integral group is, in my opinion, a lie. It's just a bold,
you know how we know
lie.
You know how I know it's true? You know how I know it's true? Because if Phil Foden missed the entire season, they won't miss him as much as they would miss some of the other pieces like Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, Gundogan the season when he basically
won a Premier League season when KDB missed the whole campaign. That doesn't stop KDB being the top 5 midfielders in Premier League history. This is crazy logic, Egal.
Because he
performed
crazy. Because he performed in many.
So can I ask you a question, Egal? Say you win the league. Say Arsenal win the league. Sorry. Say Arsenal win the league.
You compare KDB to Phil Foden?
Arsenal win the league this season, and then next year you retain it, but Saka's out for the most of the campaign. Would that prove that Saka's not integral to your team?
Bro, it's a completely different story.
No,
when you're comparing Kevin De Bruyne, who missed a whole season, he still performed in a team in another country and was one of the best players in the Bundesliga. He still performed in the international, in the World Cup, in the Euros.
You're changing your point every time.
The point is, Phil Foden's criticism that people have of him is outside of Pep's team, outside of Man City, where everything is perfect for him, where all the world-class players are there. He does not perform.
But you've only seen him in one situation, Egal. You've seen. Wait, Rums, can I just quickly say you've only seen him in a situation. All right, Egal. Can I speak? Can I say something, please? You've only seen him in one situation under a shit England manager. We need to have it right. Gareth Southgate was not a good manager, not a good system, didn't have anything in place. Yes, Saka might have performed. That's what you're going to go. Other players performed under Southgate. Cool. That's fine. But it didn't suit to what Phil Foden needed and how he played. So he didn't perform under England. But you're not going to use that as the barometer to say he's not a good player because he hasn't performed outside of City. You've only seen him in one environment. You've only seen him in one environment outside of City. You're not seeing him in multiple.
1 second.
So don't do it. So you can't talk. But then you're comparing
my argument.
Egal. If that's your argument, I'll go back to the Thierry Henry point. We have when it comes to Premier League GOAT, that means what you did for a Premier League team, yes or no?
He's not on this level.
Forget the level, it's irrelevant.
It's
yes or no? Yes or no? When we judge the Premier League GOAT, is it about what they did for a Premier League team? Yes.
Yes.
So we only saw Henry in a very good Arsenal team. Your logic ruined your own player's legacy, in my opinion. Look, Guys, no, we're going to go to the super chat. We're going to go to the super chats here. This here says Egal is spot on. Stop screaming over him and playing victim. No one's playing victim. We're both screaming. It's a good argument. We're friends. Everybody slow your fucking rolls down. Egal, Foden has 27 more minutes than Odegaard in the Premier League this season, and Foden has one more GA. If Foden has been bad, what does that say about Odegaard?
He's been
Odegaard's
injured,
been
you
injured.
bozo, Zane.
Tell you how bad Foden has been.
Hang on. No. His injury is irrelevant, but 27 more minutes. He's talking about the minutes played per return.
It's pathetic. Oh my
It's
god!
not because you
Wait,
can't
why is
deny
it
stats
pathetic
all
when
the time,
27
Egal.
minutes is barely
Why is
over a third of the game?
Phil Foden not playing? Is he injured?
Egal,
He has
you
been.
use
He has
penalty
been.
He
stats
was at
all
the
the
start
time
of
on
the
your
season.
Twitter.
He was not anymore. But
Okay.
Terry, quickly.
Hey, listen, Sam. Listen, Sam. Big up to you. But I know when I forwarded those stats to Terry, you got rattled. I understand.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is?
It's all good. It's all good.
This here says, I'm an Enzo supporter and think he can be a world class. I think he means Enzo Fernandez. But I'm starting to think the Premier League isn't for him. Maybe Real Madrid come in for him as a Kroos replacement. Wouldn't it be amazing if he was amazing for Real Madrid? Couldn't do it here. The dream scenario for Chelsea will be if United players in their euphoria try to go all out attacking game plan. Can't wait for Sunday. It's going to be amazing Sunday. I cannot wait for it. I can't wait for my show tomorrow with my guy Staffy here, who says, and Lawless and Don. It's going to be a great show. Says, lol, see, Terry, I told you all of a sudden they'll switch up and say our players aren't as bad as they thought. One game and they already think, we can beat Chelsea.
I don't
Roms don't, but he's a hater, man. He's a hater. I still think we could beat United, but I was more confident with Ten Hag. Was behind the wheel. 2-2 draw, but I wouldn't be surprised if United won. That is from Nick. I enjoy watching yesterday's match between Arsenal and Preston. Funny how not having VAR made the game more enjoyable. For once, the match focus was on the players and not referees. But you know what's crazy, though? I don't miss VAR. I miss it for things like offside. Does that make sense? Because there were a couple of goals scored by a number of our teams yesterday that looked like they were proper offside, but and that's another conversation for another day. D here says, Egal spoke so much sense in the last section. Well, we can all agree to disagree on this one. I think, listen, I have no issue with Egal's logic as long as he's prepared that his logic will rip away from some of his own players, past and present and in the future, by using that. And I think I agree with Egal in the sense of the way people try and use that same logic against Arsenal players is wrong. That's why I defend them. But I think the remedy for that is to stand up and push back against it for everybody and be integral, as opposed to joining. It reminds me of my dad used to say, well, if James jumps off a cliff, you wouldn't join him, would you? It's a bit like that. Do you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't follow suit.
You know what? I just
sorry, mate, go on.
Gal, he's been poor this season, but I just don't agree. His last 8 months define what he's done in his career. I'm not
saying it does, but it does open your eyes to, can he do it outside of perfect circumstances?
Well, again, that's a very different question to if he doesn't perform this year. Well, no, but your argument, what you said is if he doesn't perform this season, we have to start questioning everything that's come before it.
Yeah, because everything that came before it came in the perfect circumstances.
Okay. So again, every player that's delivered, but in a good team in the Premier League, we should actually question whether they're really that good or not.
No, but Terry, what you're doing, Terry, one second, Terry, once again, unfortunately, you are changing the argument to apply it to everybody when circumstances apply differently.
When you make an argument for someone,
because not every.
Egal, you can't have a singular argument for Foden and not anybody else.
1 second, you always explaining to me why I'm wrong. Let me explain to you why you're wrong. Terry, the reason why you're wrong, you're trying to compare one player who's played for Man City and his country to players who've played in multiple different teams, multiple different systems, and have had multiple seasons and other circumstances where they've been good. You can't make that comparison. If you're going to compare Phil Foden, you have to compare it to somebody else who's only been at one club.
Terry did it with Gerrard. He literally explained Gerrard.
Okay, so Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard cannot be compared to Phil Foden because he performed for his team.
Did
that
he?
was
Because
shit,
Phil
his
Foden
team
got
that was
further in
good,
every
and
competition
his
he's
team
played
that
for
was in
England
Many
than
different.
different
Gerrard.
systems.
Gerrard
Actually.
never won a league.
Hang on, but there
So
were,
stop,
but again,
so stop making
Gerrard
comparisons
wasn't
to Henry
Gerrard wasn't
and other
great.
players.
Gerrard wasn't great under Roy Hodgson. He was
Guess
still a
what?
good player. He wasn't like, again, it's the
No.
better the team, the
But we
better the
have the
manager, and the
sample
better
size.
He
the
didn't.
better the team, the better
Terry,
the
this is where I
team.
got to disagree. He wasn't Gerrard at his peak under Roy Hodgson, but he was still his good was still another
No,
player's
yeah,
best.
he was still good. But the point is, when the Gerrard that we all remember and is famous for was all produced in Liverpool's better teams in that era, right?
Yeah.
And
From about 04 to 09.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I'm just saying now, Egal, that if you're just going to say that we've got to be more, we've got to scrutinize a player more that is playing in a good setup. I mean, ironically, when it comes to the Henry and France, so France also were brilliant at the time Henry walked into their team. You know, and this is the thing when it comes down to it. I understand what you're saying. I'm just pointing out to you, be careful, because you will make a rod for your own back one day.
And
I want to move on from this, guys.
You're protecting an underperforming player. You don't
No,
like
I'm not.
doing that.
I'm not. I am
You're
absolutely not protecting him.
an
I am
underperforming
not
player.
protecting. How am I protecting
deserve-
an under?
Because
Let me answer a question. No. You don't know what I'm going to say. How am I protecting an underperforming player who I have said has been disgracefully poor this season?
Because I've brought a valid criticism of him and his performances outside of one system, and then you make comparisons. To
Your
legendary players.
point only
Terry,
holds
let me
water.
let me
Your
finish.
point only holds water if this performance this season continues further, and then when Pep leaves, he becomes a bum.
No,
then,
but guess what?
Then your point's right. That's the only way it's proven
No,
right.
but guess what?
Terry,
If
I've got
Kevin De
one
Bruyne
more
comes
thing.
back, if Kevin De Bruyne comes back and then he starts performing, then my point is even more
Your
valid.
point is just shit.
Egal.
How can you
One
say
minute,
that
George,
Inter have good players?
I've got one more thing to depict. You know how you said, Phil Foden's been in perfect circumstances. You know, you still have to perform in that perfect circumstance. And I'll give you an example. Calvin Phillips couldn't reach the level. He got shipped off. Foden still had to meet them demands. So this is where I think you're being a bit disingenuous. Yes, he had the perfect environment, but he still had to step up. Otherwise,
all of the great Premier League clubs.
Why are we comparing?
That's just an example.
All of the great Premier League clubs in good circumstances bought players that we expected to perform,
and
they didn't deliver. I agree. Moving on from this point now, because obviously there's a few other things to talk about. Big game this weekend for Arsenal. Big game. First question I've got about it, Egal. Should Ethan Nwaneri start this game?
Ethan Nwaneri should get game time, a lot more game time, but I don't think he's going to start. I would have started him versus Southampton. I would have started him versus Bournemouth. I would have given him more game time. But Mikel Arteta hasn't done that. He just played 80 minutes. I don't know if he's going to start him again in this game. I would give him the start. I would give him more game time. I would play him in these games while Odegaard is out. I think he's ready to play at the top level. He's shown that he is special. But I just think Mikel Arteta is going to ease him in, and maybe he's going to probably give him another 30 minutes off the back of the end of the game, or another 20, 30 minutes come at the end of the game, because he hasn't played him more than 9 minutes in the Premier League in one game specifically. He's given him bits and pieces, but I don't think he's going to start him from the beginning. But personally, I would.
What was that, Henry? Is it time now to unleash this young man? I know it was only Preston last night, but you know, he was just he looked a level above that. Is it time to give him real minutes now? Is it time to say, do you know what? Here's a genuine challenger for Odegaard's position. Is it time to bring in a real creator, a baller, somebody that just looks special? He looks very special.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a similar situation to what we've got with Mikey Moore. And we started him the other day against Palace. Admittedly, he didn't live up to our expectations, but he's a hell of a talent. Nwaneri looks like, at the moment, one of Arsenal's most creative players. Newcastle are going to sit back. We know what their game plan is going to be. Counter with Gordon, with Isak. You know, you're going to need to pick the lock. And if you play a similar midfield, which you did against Bournemouth, and a similar midfield, which you did against the Liverpool game, I think you'll create chances, but I think Nwaneri's just got something about it. Edge of the box. I mean, that finish, I know it's against Preston, but you've got to beat what's in front of you. It's a fantastic finish. I don't necessarily know if he'll start, but I think, last 5-7 minutes they keep bringing him on, he's not really going to have a huge impact. If the game's like 55th, 60th minute and it's still like 0-0, that's when you bring someone off the bench. With the thing that we've done with Mikey Moore is we've started him in the Europa League games. Obviously, you can't really do that in the Champions League because the opposition's the next level. So, I know we were speaking about it, but funny enough, Manchester City gave an 18-year-old a debut, and that was Foden, and he scored the winner against us. So, in big games, young players, that they can turn up. I don't see why not.
But with this,
if I'm being honest, I think you have to pick and choose when young players come into games. You have to make sure that, I think one thing that Arteta even said, and it has to be the right environment. I don't think playing against Newcastle in this midfield is the right environment.
Who plays there then? If it's not Nwaneri, who plays
the reason I'm saying is just you have to protect for young players like this,
Henry,
like with Mikey Moore, like with Nwaneri, or any young players come through, even Kobbie Mainoo. I think the problem that he had last year was Man United just thrust him into the team, and as Man United tend to do with youngsters, it's once they're there, they're just going to play. Whereas with some teams, which Man City and other teams will do, be smarter, is you need to play them, pick and choose their games where they can have good performances, where they can have big impact. In this Newcastle game, where they're going to have a very physical midfield, let's be honest, you got Joe Linton in there, Bruno Gomes in there, and potentially Tonali in there. That's a physical midfield. That's one where he's not going to get a lot of space. Yeah, they might sit back, but he's not going to have the freedom that he had in the game against Preston or against a team that will be in the lower end of the Premier League. I don't think this is a game where you should start him. He should come off the bench and have an impact. And like you said, if the game's even, bring him on. Because I think that's where I think Arteta's probably been going wrong, is bringing a player on for 5 to 10 minutes. You think you're building their experience, but you're not. You're bringing them on at the end of games when games are done, can't really have much of an impact. And he's not really being asked to do anything because Arsenal have killed off the game by that time. He needs a good 20, 30 minutes in that game towards the end of it, where he can bring some impact, where he can feel the flow of the game, where it's still at its full speed, where Newcastle could still be potentially going for it, or Arsenal still going for it. So he has to play, but I don't think he should start. I generally think it would be too much for him in this Newcastle game. It's away from home as well, right, Egal?
Yeah.
Man.
It's got to get more than 5, 7
You know
minutes.
what? I can't lie. For me personally, as an Arsenal fan, like, listen, I think Nwaneri is a special talent, man. You can see he's a special talent, but I completely agree with George, bro. Like this midfield, especially Joe Linton and Bruno Gomes, they're not nice players. They're not. They're going to know he's a youngster. They're going to know he ain't used to the physicality of the Premier League. He ain't used to these kind of opponents. Bro, they're going to go in on him hard. 100%. They're going to be like, that's the guy that we're sticking it to in the midfield. That's the creativity in their midfield. If we get him out of the game, then that's it. We've done their creativity, and so they can't create much. Do you know what I mean? And this is the thing. You don't want to put him in against that type of midfield yet as a starter. I don't mind him coming on. 100%. He can come on. But if you want to put him as a starter, if we end up losing that game and he gets completely zoned out of the game because they're just physically dominant over him, like, bro, I think it's gonna do more damage than good. And in my personal opinion, I think Trossard is, listen, he's well versed. He's an experienced player, so he knows coming into this game, he knows how the physicality is gonna be. So I think Nwaneri just needs to. We've missed the kind of scope for where we should have played him, which was against the Southamptons and the Leicesters, but. Now we need to go. We're gonna have a more favorable run coming up soon. That's where he should start. I think Ødegaard should. I know Ødegaard's gonna be back, but Ødegaard should be rested for a few games. We can rest him up, and we can utilize Nwaneri against these lesser opponents. Not trying to disrespect anybody, but compared to us, they are lesser opponents. We should try and use Nwaneri in this, man. But listen, I still think he's a special talent. I still think he's very good. But listen, you just have to pick your moments with him. You can't just throw him into that midfield. It's a very physical midfield, bro. Like, I've seen players go there that are experienced and even get out-muscled by Joe Linton and Bruno Gomes because they know how to play the game. They know how to play the dirty game. Do you know what I mean? Where you don't get caught. They know how to do these little elbows and these little barges where they can push you off the ball.
Basically, dark arts.
Yeah, 100%, bro. No, but they listen. They are these guys are professionals at the dark arts, bro, because they know how to do it. I've seen a man like freaking Bruno Gomes
Taste of your own
chin,
medicine.
bro. I've seen him chin. Yeah, 100%. I've seen him chin. Yeah, I've seen him chin freaking Jorginho, bro, and not get nothing for it, bro. So he knows when to do it, bro. I see Joelinton push players, so we all know that they're well versed in this type of style of play. So I wouldn't play him in this game. I don't think this is the game for him, to be honest, in my opinion.
So,
Stop.
does he make
Don't
Arsenal
think that.
better, or does he? Is it just purely physicality is the reason you wouldn't start him, or does he improve your team? Is he better in that position than not?
Every time he comes off the bench, he
Probably a
drives
bit
us
of both.
forward. Every time he came off the bench
He's-
versus Man
yeah.
City, versus Southampton, versus Leicester, every time he came off the bench, he was like that spark. The last 10 minutes, he just brought the whole team to life. He was the player that everyone trusted with the ball. And I do think late in the game, he can make a big impact. But I just think starting from the minute one, it could be a problem for him right now.
Yeah, and the thing
How-
is,
Sorry, go on, and I'll come in a second. Go
no,
on,
no,
sorry.
and
I wasn't
I
listening. I was
gonna
just putting the
say,
kids to bed. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, you know, the thing is, I do think he makes us better because of what Egal just said. Like, when you have a player who just looks like he's hungry and he's got a willingness to go forward, like even like George and Henry, when we played against Tottenham and he came on, look what he done. First thing he's trying to do, what am I going to do? Get the ball forward. Who's making a run?
That
Let
makes
me
sense.
look for somebody who's making a run and try and get the ball forward. Even when he comes on against other teams, bro, against Leicester, bro, comes on, first thing he does, take a shot. Let me test the goalkeeper. So, like, you need a player with that kind of hunger. You can see he's just waiting, bro. As soon as he gets his chance, he's like, bro, I'm not going to let the manager down. I'm going to show him he needs to play me more and more. Do you know what I mean? So I think 100% he makes us better, and he's definitely an option, but he needs to start building up his experience right now for maybe one.
What if you don't win the game
or-
though? Like,
Sorry.
I know we're speaking about 1 year and how great he is, but if you don't win this game because you didn't beat Newcastle last year away and City,
Wait,
and
we did.
Liverpool- No, you lost 1-0.
No, we didn't. We
Yeah,
lost
we got
1-0.
cheated. Yeah, you're right.
If-
That was
if
that
you-
was robbery, mate.
I think you beat them at home comfortably, but if you don't win this game,
George, don't do that, bro. Don't do
hypothetically,
that.
and
Don't do that.
City and Liverpool
Ball
win,
was out, mate.
Is it much? Is it must? It's a question I was going to ask. Great question, Henry. Is it must win? Is it
Of
must
course.
win Egal this weekend?
Just like Mikel Arteta said, we don't think about the loss. So in our heads, we're only thinking about winning. No draws, no defeats.
hypothetically, if you don't, if City and Liverpool both win, because you've got to remember,
Well, wait,
You're
we
the
play
only football
first.
as
We
well.
play first. We play
yeah,
first.
exactly. So it's
So
better for
12:30
them.
kickoff. We play first, and I'm hoping we go on to win that game, and one of them two drop points. Simple.
Do you know what?
But if it's the other way around, though,
If it's the other way around, guys, it's early in the season, obviously, but
Yeah,
we
but you
cannot
can't have
continue to-
City
we
already-
can't
I mean,
drop
8
any more
points.
points. We can't drop any more
I'm
points.
completely in disagreement. I think if we drop points in this game, panic stations, bro, because
No, I
That's what
agree.
I'm
you would start to stretch. You would start to stretch the lead a bit too far. And I've always been consistent. As long as we stay maybe 5 points, 6 points, something like that, yeah, behind them, I think that's manageable. Because 1 or 2 games they drop points, we can get back the points over them. But if we start dropping 8, 9 points, bro, that
Liverpool ain't
gets
going
different.
down.
No, but what, Henry? Why is it every game? What if you drop points? Why can't
Because
we
that's
ever
gotta be the
say what if
scenario.
Man
It's
City
the same-
drop points?
It's the same for Liverpool or City. Like I'd ask you the same question to Roms. If they go out there and lose to Brighton, which would be catastrophic, but if they lose to Brighton and all of a sudden you're within a few points, but as you're playing first, City and Liverpool will be thinking this plays right into our hands because Newcastle's a tough place to go. I know they beat Chelsea, but and they lost to Chelsea at the same time, but
Do you know?
it's a physical
Do you know
game.
with this game, Henry, and I think Egal and Sard will agree, and the Arsenal fans, I feel this has that extra bit of edge to it because I still think that decision last season, whether you agree with it or not, with Joe Linton and Gabriel, it lives in both fan bases' head, Newcastle and Arsenal, and I think Arsenal want to get one up on them.
Do you think it was a foul or not?
Nah, not for me. I didn't think it was a foul.
It's
I
just
think it was-
interesting. Sorry, go on.
Oh,
But-
so you didn't think Kivior's was a foul then?
No, I didn't. Arts most of my family, so I was consistent with that. I thought it was too soft. I thought both of them were
Ask
soft.
my family. I'm coming round now.
No, not family. I said fan base. My fan base that I was
fan
arguing.
base. I sorry, fan base. I was saying
Yeah.
family. I was like, yeah.
But I'm just saying it, I'm just saying it.
You could ask his family, bro. His family's all Arsenal fans.
Yeah, they're all Arsenal anyway. But
Yeah,
I'm
but
going to
you
say
don't
it, Gal. This is why I think this game has actually more edge, and I think you lot will do enough because I think that last season you're still annoyed by that. You want to go to their patch and beat them at their patch.
I fully agree with you, and I agree with Saad in the sense that, guys, we are one loss away from every single Arsenal fan losing their head and a bunch of people saying we're not in the title race, we're in the top 4 race. That's the reality. And also, we're a couple wins and a Man City drop points away from everyone puffing their chest out again. At the end of until we go and win a league title, our majority of our fan base will not have their heads screwed on straight. That's the reality. Because they will continuously have PTSD every time we drop points, and they'll continue to be gassed, like myself, every time we go on a good winning run. And I do think this is the beginning of a good run. We're starting to get players back fit. Hopefully, we're going to have Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba there. Hopefully, we're going to start to get Odegaard back for the Chelsea game. And hopefully we see a good performance away at Newcastle, go away for the international break, come back a little bit more fit, ready to go, rejuvenized, and then Chelsea away, we start to go on a run. We have Nottingham Forest after
Inter
that.
Milan as well in there.
Inter Milan. Honestly, I think out of all the games that we have coming up, I think we win every single one of them except for the Inter Milan game. I think we draw against Inter. So for the next 5 games,
if you gave me a draw right now,
You know
if you
what's
take
funny,
me a
Egal? You
draw
just
right
said
now
other
at the San
Arsenal
Siro,
fans-
bro, I'm taking that.
You just said other Arsenal fans won't have their head screwed on. I was going to ask, has your head ever been screwed on? Because you always talk about going on these
you know
winning
what? I
runs.
think
You-
I'm quite
I
balanced.
bet you didn't predict you were going to win against you're going to lose against Bournemouth. You didn't predict that. I know. So
Oh, I didn't think we were going to get a
Nobody
player sent
predicted
off
that,
after
George.
30 minutes. Come on.
What we doing?
Nobody
The 30 minutes thing
predicted
means
that, bro.
nothing. Anyone can
You
win
know
a red
what?
win with a
I
red
have a
card.
question. I have a question.
We
Am
did it.
I wrong to call out referees because they make
Yes.
mistakes for all of us,
Yes,
right?
you are wrong. You are wrong
Why?
because at the end of the day, we all deal with the same referees, and ultimately,
Okay.
that referee is going to manage one of our games. It's going to everyone's going to have the same referee eventually all season. So
No,
there's
no,
no
not
point in
true.
thinking about them.
Not true. There's certain referees that are not allowed to referee Everton and Liverpool games
certain
because the
games.
guy's a Liverpool
Yes.
fan, but he's
Yes.
allowed to referee Man City and Arsenal games when he is a Liverpool fan.
What
And
does that
then
mean?
the game before we play Liverpool,
I didn't
he
even
sends
know that.
off. He sends off William
There
Saliba with
actually
a
is.
red card.
But it was a red card though. So what are we doing?
No,
here?
but it wasn't a red card for Van de Ven.
It
It wasn't a red card for Wilson.
Sorry, guys. I want to ask a question of Egal there. When you say that, who is that referee?
Gillett, he's a Liverpool
Okay.
fan.
So
And it's
genuinely, sorry. So he is not allowed to referee Liverpool games. Is that documented?
Liverpool or
officially?
Everton games, he's not allowed to referee or VAR either of them.
See, what's interesting about that, again, I don't believe there's a conspiracy against Arsenal. I think there's terrible decisions. I think they've had decisions that have hurt them in games. But surely if he can't referee those games because they believe they'd be biased, he can't also referee games that of rivals who are in title races or
You're degenerate.
when you say you've read up on it, I'm talking. Egal, when you say he's not allowed to, is this like documented on the PG? Okay, but please let me answer the question so you understand what I'm saying. Is this documented on the Premier League website or the PGMOL website? I'm not talking some fanzine that said it. I'm talking like, is this officially documented? I've never heard of this.
Officially documented. You can go search it up and you can type in the referee's name. You can type in which club he supports and you can type in which games he's not allowed to referee.
Where do you type this in?
Go search it. Every team has it. If I'm not mistaken, Michael Oliver is not allowed to referee Newcastle games because he's a Newcastle fan. If I'm not mistaken, you have guys who are fans of clubs. You have guys who are fans of lower league clubs, and they're not allowed to referee them for League Cup games and FA Cup games. There's referees who have affiliations with teams. They're not allowed to referee those games or their rivals. So, for example, there's a guy who's a supporter of a team that has a direct rival, Sheffield Wednesday or something like that. He's not allowed to rival. He's not allowed to referee either Sheffield club in the Championship or in the FA Cup or in the League Cup.
Oh, you know what? Egal is actually right. It literally says no. Jared Gillett is not allowed to referee Liverpool Everton games because he's a Liverpool fan. When Gillett agreed to join the referees board, he was required to disclose his team and his supporters as a child and as an adult. And he said it was Liverpool, so they discounted him for those games.
Do you know the problem with this? What if he refs a game that affects that?
That's what Terry said a minute ago.
It doesn't make sense.
Let's say this Arsenal. Let's say this Arsenal City and one of them are closer to us. He might put decisions in the favour of the team.
And that's where I don't think there's a direct conspiracy against Arsenal. I don't think they all get together and go, let's screw Arsenal over. I think that Arsenal have had some bad decisions, though. But if you're not going to let him referee a Liverpool game or an Everton game because you think he might be biased, most Liverpool fans I know hate Man United more, right? So how can he referee or be involved in a Man United? Again, I didn't know this. That's for me why we should be hiring the best of the best from abroad. Because
he is from abroad. We actually imported him from Australia.
Oh, he's not even English.
No, he is the first
Australian.
imported.
He's Australian.
Hang on, Egal.
You know what, Egal? Big up on that news because
he is the first imported.
Egal is walking around like fucking Clouseau, bro. He knew
Terry,
this.
I don't know if you remember the clip.
What
Right,
did he
it
eat
was
for
a few
breakfast?
years
What did he eat
before.
for breakfast? Sorry, Dan. Sorry.
He went viral on Twitter, I think, for like refereeing a game. They mic'd him up in Australia, and then the Premier League was so impressed they then recruited him.
That was a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
He was headhunted.
Oh, wow. So when I say abroad, I'm talking. I see the way when I say abroad, I'm talking like Italy. I'm talking about countries where most people wouldn't support an English team because football's really strong in that nation. I didn't. When you actually think, I mean, I don't know why I never thought about it, but could I referee a rival of Man United fairly? Some people in the comments are going to go definitely Arsenal. I know what they're going to say, right? Because I know how you two roll.
You're giving every decision against us. That I know. You're not refereeing.
Isn't Howard Webb Man United?
Who was the referee for the West Ham Manchester United game?
No,
apparently that guy David Coote is apparently a closet Manchester United fan. Apparently he could have wanted
100%.
Apparently he could have wanted Ten Hag out. Apparently he could have given that dodgy penalty at the end of the game to get your manager sacked.
Then now you're taking it a bit far. So he's a Man United fan, but he did it to get the manager sacked. Egal, this is where the tinfoil hat comes out. Like, hold back a little bit.
That is fully tinfoil hat. I'll take that.
George, could you ref an Arsenal game, George? Could you ref an Arsenal game fairly?
Yeah? I can ref an Arsenal game.
Did you see the hesitation before he said yeah? Bro, this man George said he went like this.
When I played Sunday League, right? Because I was so good, I used to run the line a lot. I was so good, I used to run the line a lot when I played Sunday League. And there was an offside that was clearly onside, right? With my team conceded, and my brother was the captain. He sent it back, and the guy all screamed, "Jerry, put the flag up! It was offside, weren't it?" And I kept it down, right? And I remember people giving me daggers. And I remember getting into a genuine fight with my teammates because they were like, "Why didn't you fucking give it offside?" And I was just like, because it weren't, right? I could never. I just find cheating a weird concept in that regard. Like, although there's so many things you can cheat at in life, real life games. You can. It's like I had friends that used to do all those cheats on like Football Manager games as a kid. So you had like £1 billion to spend, and you could make the stadium. There was this one football game where if you did all these different cheats, where you remember cheats back in the day, you'd move the control pads in certain directions and it would do things. There was a manager game where it would give you £1 billion in the bank, which, by the way, in the early 2000s, £1 billion was more than you could ever spend, and you could make the stadium like 200,000 seater and stuff. And my brothers would all do it, and I'd look at them and be like, "But where's the joy in winning if you've cheated?" It never made sense to me. Cheating. I've never been someone who's in sport anyway. Other areas, not.
You don't remember GTA Online, the money?
Unlimited life. GTA. No, that was San Andreas back in the day.
No, but they did it GTA 5 as well, the early stage.
GTA 5, some guy came online one time, bro. He changed everyone's life, bro. He was like, "Yo, here, have some." Bro, just give you an invite. He gave you an invite, bro. He gave you some random invite, bro. You join a random lobby, bro. There's hella money bags on the floor, bro. You're picking it up. It's like 1 billion, 2 billion. I'm like, bro, what's going on?
Terry, stop this nice character building.
This is my #1 fan, by the way. We argue every day. They got this.
I mean, I'm not trying to build a nice character. I'm just telling you how I am as a highly competitive person. Despise losing. I throw my toys out the pram when I lose, but that's in the pursuit of trying to win. Cheating to win, I'd rather lose than cheat to win. There's still honor in losing. There's still like an honor in losing, but trying your best. And I'm just not a fan of cheating. It's a weird one on me. It's like with in the fighting, which I love every bit as much as football. Whenever I hear it's like Canelo as a boxer, I respect how good he is. But the reason I never get hyped about anything he's done is because he's a 2-3 time convicted cheat, and it's like I can't support that. I just can't do it. It's just never going to happen.
It's not cheating if you don't get caught.
Terry, do you rate John Jones?
Sound like Vince
John
McMahon.
Yeah, what did you just say?
John Jones. See again, John Jones. I listen. I do believe John Jones is the one man in the world that he'd beat every man in the world up. I think he's that tough. But no, I think I put other people ahead of him because of the drugs cheating.
He won everything before he cheated, and then cheated and won it all again.
Nah,
I don't know. Look, it tarnishes it for me. Listen, I've got respect for him. I wouldn't want to say this to his face because the man would kill me. But it's one of them things where, especially in fighting, the cheating, like drugs cheating in fighting, is even worse because you're physically hitting people. It's different to any other sport, but I can't support it when it's not proven or they win it on an appeal. It's up in the air because there's a lot of that. But yeah, I can't. The cheating side of things just
get done like a couple of years ago.
Well, I got to reread all of that. It's all been. It's again with Conor Ben. Ben beats Eubanks Jr. There's a part of me that looks at it and just thinks, yeah, but
he ain't beating.
And I can't help that. I that's just how I am about it. You know, I'm not trying to be a saint.
He's the most corny. He's the most corny guy ever. Fucking Conor Ben, bro. He
literally moved in.
Well, like, just wait, bro. Bro, what was Neymar doing in the middle of that, bro? What was Neymar doing in the middle of that, bro? I'm just looking, bro. Neymar's just there, just like this, just like.
I don't think he even understood them. That was the worst part. Like, he just speak English.
They just said, "Come to the stage, come to the ring."
So you lot are all too young, probably, to remember when Ricky Hatton was at the peak of his powers as a boxer, and Wayne Rooney went to Vegas with him. It was in the summer, and walked out holding the belt, and it was so weird. Sorry,
is it Mayweather? Is that when he fought Mayweather?
It might have been the Mayweather fight. It might have been the one before. It might have been a little bit before that. Like you're talking 07, 08, around that time. And it was the look on his face, like being out there. It was weird seeing someone that was so comfortable talking after games and being in the football spotlight, but being in the boxing one. But then it's a different world. Like I don't know if you guys have ever. I mean, have you been to like live boxing or MMA events?
Yeah.
They're different because even if it's in the audience. I know there's fighting at football, but again, that's normally between firms. Like all those events, especially the lower budget ones, you're only one wrong chant away from the whole fucking place going off. But they're because you get a lot of guys crowd that are boxers, MMA fighters, and everybody thinks they're the artist, and they're really intimidating environments to be in. Actually, and if you've never been to one, you should go because they are amazing environments. But you've got to be a certain type of person.
And these MMA fights can pop off, bro. We all remember Conor McGregor versus Khabib, bro. That when he jumped into the crowd, bro, nobody expected that to happen.
Bro, I was out there. I was out there. I was there for that. I mean, I was in the bleachers, as they would say. I was right out the back, and I was over in the States that week.
That's a good fight.
Went to that fight, and that was just it was one of the fights where I left, right, and we were sort of outside, and it was just Khabib fans and predominantly the Irish, just like fighting everywhere. Everybody was fuming. I'm like, guys, we've just got to get away from here and find a nice, quiet place to go and have a little gamble. That was the one thing. You don't have to like Conor McGregor, but a Conor McGregor fight week, there is nothing else like it. It's a different, and I've only ever experienced one like in the person in Vegas, and it was just fucking out of this world.
So, quick question. Just before we go for this. Ilia Topuria now or Conor McGregor in his prime? Who wins that fight?
Do you know what?
McGregor in his prime.
McGregor in his prime.
I did tell you.
McGregor in his prime.
Comes that, man.
Get disrespected in my opinion because of the status he now has and the way people clown him. Topuria.
He was fighting on 3 weeks' notice.
McGregor. Yeah, he has better one-punch knockout power than McGregor did. But McGregor's timing back then, this is when he was in the pursuit of that money. What ruined McGregor was being that good because that man got that. When I say ruined him, he got that money and he lived that life. And I think that I actually don't want to see him. I do want to see him return, and I don't want to see him return because I feel like he ain't that much younger than me, and he's past it. He drinks a bit too much. He doesn't drink too much for a normal person. He drinks too much for a fighter. I think just go out to pasture. But if I was going to put a bet on in their primes, I'd go with McGregor. I'll tell you as to why. Because as amazing as our Matador is, he does have a little bit of a temper. And I think peak McGregor would have got under his skin. And when McGregor got under your skin, you lost to him in his peak. So I'd slightly go with McGregor personally, but I might be. Listen, I'm being a little bit biased, maybe. But yeah, I'd go with McGregor on that. But yeah, I mean, both of them phenomenal. And the way he knocked out Holloway, fuck me.
That was great. I didn't see that coming.
Me.
Roms told me. I didn't see it coming.
Sard messaged me before saying, Holloway's got this. You're going to lose your money. I said, no, I'm not. I'm not going to lose my money. Tafori is he's that guy right now.
No, you did lose your money, though. You did lose your money.
I didn't. I won that parlay. I won for UFC. I got most of them.
What about
Guys,
Hamza?
I've got a few super chats here at the end. Sorry, it says it's not cheating if you don't get caught. Egal 2004.
Yeah, that was
The girl
scary,
said,
man.
I don't
That's
think anyone
scary.
picked up on the
I'll tell you who has picked up on it. Egal's wife heard, and she's fuming.
I was about to say, oh, she's not listening.
The girl said, what's your views on Man City? If they get found not guilty, what's your views on City? Would they? Is it fine or?
They're smarter than everybody else.
Go on, bruv. I like that. Nwaneri scored 7 goals outside of the box for the under-18s last season. Arsenal senior team is totally in 2023-24. Scored 6 goals only. He must start. Nwaneri not getting game time is just showing that Obi Martins was right to leave and join United. Glory, Man United.
What are you talking about?
5 minutes.
It's the opposite.
Go on, Martin. Go on, my son. I don't want him, Nwaneri, to end up like Gnabry leaving. That's my worry. I wouldn't worry about that right now. I
don't think so. There was a whole thing before we officially signed him onto whatever the contract is, where there was Man City going after him, Chelsea everybody was going after him, guys, and he chose to stay here.
G-Star. I just see a t-shirt. I remember G-Star. That was a brand and a heart. They had made amazing jeans in the early noughties, you know.
Hey, I'm an old school guy.
Egal has classic C's mentality. Been losing so much, he only knows how to defend even when it makes no sense. Foden is a bit overrated, but Egal's point is crazy. This here says, what happened to you jumping on Goldbridge's channel? Didn't happen, unfortunately. I'm sad. You never know. Maybe in the future. But we'll never know. Hit the like button, chat. Thank you, Luke Skywalker. You legend. If you're not cheating, you are not trying hard enough. Yeah.
George, why are you laughing?
That's why George is single.
laughing a bit too hard.
Is that your missus? Is that your missus, George? Yeah. Look, I want to thank everyone that's tuned in. Tomorrow we're back. More content for you, including straight facts in the afternoon, where we're previewing all of the Premier League games. I just realized that Spurs are playing Villa. Oi, what a game. I like it. I want to thank my panel tonight. We've got Roms, we've got Saab, we've got Emery, we've got George, Dan making his debut, my brother Egal. By the way, Egal, great fight earlier. I fucking enjoyed that. It was a great amount of fun as ever. Viewers, listen, everyone who super chatted, you're legends. Thank you. To all of our members, again, I appreciate you so much. To everybody who's hit the like button, thank you. Until next time, look after yourselves. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.